And welcome back. 2020 is finally here, and that means it's all about Season 7. We've got a lot of things to go through today. It's going to be a very long day. And before we even begin, I'm going to let you all know the patch notes are already live for you to follow along with at home. So make sure you're doing that along on the show. We're going to start things off, though, with the inglorious AJ and the amazing Tina joining me on the set to begin. Welcome to the new set, first of all. How are you both doing?
Well, thank you.
I'm happy to be here. Season 7, always an exciting day when we kick off a new season.
We've got a new joust map to go through, tons of conquest updates, major items and god balances too, and some crazy awesome skins to round out the day for you all. Like I said, it will be long, so make sure you've got all your drinks ready. But first thing to talk about with you two really is this battle pass changes that are going to be coming in. First of all, quality of life to the battle passes.
That's the main focus, is quality of life. And there's also going to be some artistic and some theming and some readability issues changing with the battle pass. But
just the way it looks out, the layout and stuff, definitely will look different.
Well, let's start things off with the quality of life stuff. First of all, we're removing the prestige track. Why is that happening?
So the prestige track, for clarification, is the extra bonus track after you complete the whole battle pass.
Right.
That had a couple extra rewards. They were a little bit more few and far between. It was really to challenge players. But we found out that it was actually kind of frustrating players instead.
Yeah, it was.
So really what we're doing is making the whole Battle Pass experience a little bit more compact. So that Prestige additional track is going to be gone. The Battle Pass will complete at the end of the free and premium tracks. And those tracks are going to be easier to reach now.
Yep.
Oh, really? How are they going to be easier, Tina?
We have reduced the points. So, for example, the Ruby pack had 75,000 points that you had to do to complete the whole pack, but we have reduced it by 15,000, so now it's 60,000 points in order to complete the whole
So it's coming
battle
down in
pass.
how many points it's going to take. And not only that, I've got a note here as well saying there's going to be past quests that are going to be available for all players now.
For everyone, correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now, even if you're competing only in the free track, you'll have a much faster boost to progress by completing those quests, and you'll also be able to earn the recolor skin in the free track.
Fantastic. So there's going to be a free skin available in the free track too. Not only that, when we look at it, we've also got a few other updates to some, content, I should say, in terms of a brand new season pass that's going to be coming into the game as well this year. AJ, you want to walk me through this a little bit?
This is a whole new type of thing, and really this is a cool way to celebrate all of the gods that are launching this year. So this pack comes with a lot of things, but the main new thing it does is if you buy this pack for the rest of this year, just the Season 7 gods, as each god launches, each new god, you'll automatically unlock that god for gameplay. You'll get their recolor. You'll also get a new limited recolor that you can only acquire by buying this pass.
Oh, okay.
And you'll get their voice pack and their emotes. So for every god that comes out this year, you'll get all of that on launch day.
Gotcha. So you pay for this pack, you get every god in the year that ever comes out. If you don't have the god pack, you get that this way.
Right.
You also get 2 skins with them, and the recolor and a bonus recolor that can only be got through this pack, as well as you're going to have the voice pack and the wave emotes as well. So basically everything to do with the god.
And that's just only when each god launches. If you buy our the new season pass, you also will get 1,000 gems. And then a limited Zeus skin, so a limited skin. So yeah, the recolors and the skin are limited to this pack, so you won't be able to find them anywhere else. Eternal Tormentor Zeus skin and loading screen, and that's a really cool skin. Have you seen that one, Tina?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a really badass take on a dark night, dark fantasy theme.
Okay, well that season pass will be available for you all to pick up too. And not only that, we're going to have the new Chinese event. A new event is going to be launching alongside Season 7.
Yes, there's going to be a mystery character who's like the headliner.
Very mysterious.
Very mysterious
Especially for those of
character.
you who don't read data mining.
Yes. Yes.
I don't even know. I haven't even looked at that. I mean, I don't even know
Well,
who this
you'll
is.
see the character. But the event ties the story of the whole season launch together.
Okay.
We're having at the beginning of this season, we're kind of starting a new arc in the SMITE story. This is going to be tied to the new Joust map, as well as the god that will be joining the game relatively soon, and the event. And you'll get to learn a little bit about that as you participate in the event. You'll also be able to unlock some cool stuff through the event, right, Tina?
Yes, you can unlock, so there's going to be 3 bundles that are in this event, and basically when you buy a bundle, you will get a coin along with it, the Imperial coin, and if you complete 3 quests along with this bundle that you purchased, it will unlock a bonus reward item. So it just encourages you to not only play, but you can also get more things with it.
It's kind of like the events we've done previously, where you can play in the event, do some quests in the event, and then there's a bonus if you complete the whole event.
Similar structure. Everyone can play the quests and earn some free items. There is the If you've purchased the bundles, you can earn special items at different
items.
intervals throughout the quest. And if you buy all the bundles, you get the special Tier 4 limited or unlimited skin,
Correct.
which I don't think we're showing it in this update yet because it'll be launched in a future update, but it's really cool.
But it is really cool, yeah.
Okay, so that's a bit about the new Chinese event that'll be available. But I think that's it for talking about, stuff coming to the game in that sense. You guys at home definitely want to see new maps and stuff, so let's have a little look at that Joust map. And there's a little look at the map itself, but we'll go in game soon enough to have a little look through. Joining me on the set, though, as you can see, I've moved chairs magically over the course of that. AJ's still here, but now we're joined as well by Louisa and Matt. Louisa is the environment artist, and Matt, one of the new level designers as well. Welcome to the show, Matt, for your first time.
Thank you.
So let's go through a few things about this. AJ, lore of this map. What's been the focal point here?
So our maps are always telling the story of what's going on in the Smite universe. Smite's not really a story game, so we use the map and the world to express the types of things that are happening and the god launches. So in this sense of this map, Yggdrasil, the world tree, was damaged by Persephone at the end of last year. And now some interesting things are happening throughout the world. The first one we're going to be visiting is China, where the Joust map is set, where their sacred and powerful jade, normally a stone of healing and helpfulness, is turning corrupt and turning things evil and turning against them quite literally. So living things in the world that are touching the jade become afflicted by this otherworldly disease, and that's causing the nature and the forest to turn dark, and it's also bringing to life these kind of clay soldier enemies afflicted with jade who are sieging into the neighboring villages.
We'll go into games shortly to have a little look. Louisa, I want to talk to you a bit about the environment here as well, because with the order and chaos side, it looks a little bit different than what we've seen previously.
Yes, so our main idea that we had for the new Joust, we really wanted to take what we have currently in Joust, the order side being natural and the chaos side being architectural. And we wanted to flip them on their alignments. So now the chaos side is the natural side where this unstoppable force of corrupted jade is like bursting from the ground. And the last bastion that's holding back this corruption from spreading further into China is now the architectural order side.
That's awesome. So it kind of switched around where chaos was kind of in one way and order the other. Now it's kind of reversed a little bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of awesome. On top of that as well, Matt, just coming to you real quick, obviously, the design of the map, there's been a lot of talk about that and trying to make sure this like changes things but keeps some of its originality. Where were some of the struggles with what was the biggest challenges for you there?
I guess the biggest challenge was fitting everything into this small of a map, basically. I mean, we want to keep it Joust, but we want to augment it a little bit, bust up the meta a little bit, make assassins a little bit more viable. And we did that by adding some new camps and some new paths to kind of help you get around the map and navigate so you don't feel so like closed in and forced to turtle. We really wanted to encourage aggressive play.
Awesome, and with that as well, the new jungle monsters and minions, you mentioned this a little bit, AJ,
yeah.
to do with some of the changes here. The Chaos minions are going to be a little bit different this time.
So the Chaos minions are a completely new character to this map, and they are the clay soldiers afflicted with the cursed jade, and they will be the ones coming from that natural source that Louisa mentioned. They'll be charging towards the city. So those are your Chaos minions, and you'll have your defenders, kind of city defenders as the order minions. We also have a new jungle camp, which is pretty cool.
What, we do?
Yeah, we have the yellow buff.
Is that a new camp? It's just, it's for
New
Joust
to Joust.
then.
Okay, well,
Clear
classic
it up.
Joust had one.
There we go, see?
Right, okay, my
It's been
bad.
there before.
Yeah, I played so much classic Joust when it was live the other week.
Well, hey,
so,
we can have the
and
little
we have,
one.
these are guarded by a new character. So we've added the speed buff. Sorry, it is yellow, but it's the speed buff, right? We all call it the
Yeah.
speed buff, even though it's yellow.
It is speed buff.
This is now on the Joust map. As Matt mentioned, we added more camps and more paths, and you can see here's a new character. It's a tree folk, demon nature spirit type of character.
Okay, so like Sylvanas' weird cousin. No, I'm not just about Grover's weird cousin. Something like that, right?
Yeah, Grover's like beefed up warrior real cousin. Look at this guy.
Okay, yeah, it looks quite dangerous as well. Nice little new camp there as well. So this is a little bit look at the map now. We can go in a little bit more detail now with Matt and with Louisa too, because you can see what we were just talking about there, Louisa, regarding the sort of style. You see all the cherry blossoms on the order side trying to, be a little bit prettier.
Right. We really wanted the players, as they're playing throughout this map, that when they're transitioning from one side to the other, that they have different sensations as they're feeling. The order side, we want them to feel peaceful and protected, and the chaos side, we want them to feel a little bit on edge and anxious.
Yeah, just a little bit worried about you're in a dangerous sort of area. Mm-hmm. Things shouldn't necessarily be good.
And here you can see as we cross to the chaos side, you can see that corrupted jade.
Yeah, we really wanted like aggressive colors on the chaos side and pretty serene, peaceful colors for the order.
I think it really shows that too. Matt, obviously, talk about this in more detail. You mentioned the sides about like we're trying to expand it a little bit, make more of a jungle this time round. Was it tricky to try and make sure everything kind of felt the same but had some differences to it to make it more, fleshed out?
Yeah, it all comes down to the spacing of things. Like we want to keep players together because Joust is a very much emphasizes team-based gameplay, team fights. So we want to keep players together. We want the jungle to be kind of spacious and open, but have lots of paths so you can, pull off some cool plays, because that's a big part of Joust. So keeping, camps open and accessible and close to lane, so you can develop a rhythm of, grabbing a wave, going to a camp, getting a wave, back and forth, and that kind of thing.
Awesome. I love the center of this map as well. It looks quite open. Like you can see through the walls almost and see what's going on the other side. On top of that, now we are headed over towards the Bull Demon King here as well. The Demon King.
Now we'll just be calling him the Demon King.
He's
not a bull anymore.
Well, he's not, is he?
Now the leader of the nature spirit.
Grover's dad. That's what it looks like now.
Kind of like Louisa described the
Yeah.
themes of turning the sides against each other. We have this theme of kind of corrupted nature.
Yeah.
So here, the kind of neutral, we were brainstorming what would be the neutral camp. What would be not really in the human side, but not really in the evil side. And so we have these nature spirits that are kind of caught in the middle between this new God-created disaster and the humans trying to survive it.
Is that like a portal that kind of like made this guy appear? Is kind of what that's representing there, that portal in the background you can see?
Oh, yeah,
It looks really cool, like it's kind of come through the portal, all the evils starting to stretch out. And I love the leaves on the ground to make it feel like, you're under a tree almost.
Oh, yeah.
Makes that really
Those
nice.
are some really
as well.
nice details.
So the Demon King is the lead of the nature demons. The powerful tree folk will happily crush any gods who attempt to challenge him. Interesting.
Of course.
So the primary goals here was, AJ, from your point of view, the primary goals of this map were to, give it a bit more of a jungle and try and solve some of the problems we've seen in the map previously.
Right. So as Matt mentioned, Joust is known for its high-tier combat, right? In Joust, you're focusing on executing your abilities and attacking and fighting. It has less of this rotation and splitting experience. That's generally not what people value in the Joust map. That's something you'd get to experience more on Conquest. So a lot of the design changes the design team has made, and Matt led the team on the design changes for this map, were to create more jungle, but to create it in a way that still facilitates pretty constant combat. So one of the main things we did was add more camps. That's one thing. Previously, there was only a few things to fight over. It made it feel like you were really delayed between having these neutral contests, and that's what creates more fighting a lot of times. Then we also really designed them so that they weren't too far away ever from the lane. We don't want players to have to really roam long periods of time. It's one of the major downsides of classic Joust. As much as we love that map, and the nostalgia is great, and there is some fun gameplay to it, it has these really long linear paths that require you to run forever to get to certain camps, and that just doesn't fit with our current goals for Joust. So really, we learned a lot of lessons from the old map and the current map to bring together what we think is really the culmination of all of the best pieces from Joust's history.
Louisa, what do you think is the best part of this map for your point of view? What was the big thing that stands out for you?
I really enjoyed working on the red buff camp because it has a very theatrical feel to it. It kind of feels like the monsters are jumping down from this platform ready to fight you, and with the building behind, it's like, well, there might be more coming up. So I really do like a little bit of the storytelling in that scene.
And Matt, for you, what are you most proud of what happened here? Or what was your best part of this map?
Best part, I guess, is just feeling like you have more agency. Like when you're behind, you can grab speed now, or you can kind of use the flanking pass to slip past and grab some XP right here. Or I like the new Demon King area, excuse me,
It's okay.
because now you can't really get trapped in there. There's an extra
space.
path. Yeah.
there's a really cool new geometry choices here, specifically around this experience camp here that has this little split between two big rocks. And we also have some really interesting choices around the red buff. You can now see through the window, so you can actually contest that, and there's less paths there too, so you have a better idea of where your opponents are when you're contesting it. Really, so even though we can't show all the changes because a lot of them are numerical, right? There's a lot of changes here, so experience and everything has been adjusted a lot. So as we mentioned, the patch notes are posted live. Please go check those as we're going through. You can see more details on it. But we also, Matt did a lot of work to adjust the economy of Joust to prevent people from wildly snowballing their leads so effectively.
Awesome.
So everyone knows in current Joust, you win red, you almost win the game. If you effectively clear the wave, clear the red, clear the second wave, push them out and steal a blue, like you can end the game. This map is a lot harder to do that. Even if you do that, you're not going to be as ahead as you are now. So there's a lot of other changes like that, and the environment is completely new, and every asset has been updated too. So although we only kind of looked really closely at some of the new characters, those tigers have completely new, updated, better quality textures. Same with the turtles, same with both titans, all the towers, everything. And I want you to get in there and look in the map and
We could spend
go.
there all day there, I think. There's a lot of stuff
There's
in that new Joust
huge
map.
stuff.
A lot of people will be going through it as well. It'll be available on the PTS for you all to test. But unfortunately, I can't spend that much time because we've got more show to do.
Why can't we just talk about Joust?
Listen,
Hold on.
no,
right,
you've been trying to do this
fine.
for years. It's not the right time. Joining us, though, on the set now, after Matt and Louisa have left us, thank you for their presence, is the one and only Pompon and Clumsy for the mega balance section of balance sections, because it takes 3 devs to break this down with me this week.
Conquest changes. It's a lot.
It is 20 pages, just so you know.
All right, so
as a
Joust
whole
is pretty
show.
hype for sure, but Conquest, the competitive changes for this year.
Let's start off then. What are the goals for season 7 in terms of Conquest, boys? What's been the focus point here?
Invade meta.
Yeah.
Invade meta has been the key thing that has been defining pro level play. People have been developing strategies trying to optimize and counter it, but we've just seen it be a continually dominant thing. And we also saw it trickle down into more of the higher level ranked and even some casual games. So we wanted to give players not only the tools to counter the invade meta, but also make changes to discourage the invade meta.
This has been a thing, though, boys, that we've had for years. Like every year, it's always culminated in an invade meta. It's not an easy problem to solve, really, is it?
No.
No, and one key point to make there is that when we were addressing this issue, we were trying to look into changes that still kept the flexibility of SMITE.
Yeah.
So there was some popular suggestions, I guess I might say, from the community involving very hard locked rules, preventing people from doing things. That is not at all the direction we want to go. So instead, we implemented some new pathing in the jungle, new timing in the jungle to give the home team players a little bit more of an advantage, as well as introducing some new items.
Yeah.
So invading, certainly still possible in Season 7, but should be more difficult, more risky, and so it's still possible, but it will be considerably harder to pull off.
Now, the invade meta is definitely the one that everyone focuses on first, but there's been a couple of things about jungle and mid and how impactful they feel. Same with the duo link. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think one of the main knockoff effects of the invade meta no longer being there, hopefully, is that there's going to be more of a traditional duo lane again.
Right.
I think from what we've seen in Conquest most recently, especially in the Pro League, is that where does the support go? They're the ones actually invading. It's not the other jungler invading as we might have seen before. And now that there's no longer a support in the duo lane, these hunters, or sometimes not hunters as well, are kind of having this 1v1. They're getting a pretty big lead, and I know a lot of people, when it comes down to the casual levels, they don't even know whether they should be in the duo lane anymore, or whether they need to be following in on this invade strategy, and it just leads to a lot of confusion. So with the invade meta being lessened or gone, we're going to see that traditional duo lane back, and there's going to be a lot more interesting plays there.
And some of the stuff we've actually already spoken about and been released already over the last week or two
Right.
will have given you an idea of what we're going to go through here today. Other thing I really want to touch on in goals was the solo lane. We had a couple of issues where people were just saying you just can't die there.
Yeah, you have Health Chalice, you have Health Potion, you have Warrior's Blessing, and then you have Gladiator Shield that pops up, and then you often have sustain characters that can use blue buff and the totem mana regen to then just fight each other.
Oh, when you say it like
If
that.
you've ever seen Chalk v Chalk is like the example of this, where you just kind of assume that lane's like, yeah, they're going to clear and they're going to stare at each other.
I mean, but you say Chak, and then you're like, well,
We want to make the solo laner require a little bit more resource management, as well as executing your combat well. So.
Well, we'll move on to some of the stuff that we're going to have on the show today then. First of all, new camp spawns. You mentioned this a moment ago.
This is a big one.
To do with some of the changes in the jungle at the start of the year. We're going to be adjusting the initial jungle camp spawn delays Speed is now going to be spawning at 20 seconds alongside Void, which is the purple buff, I believe.
Right.
Will also be spawning at 20 seconds. But every other camp in the jungle, barring the mid harpies, by the way, and I'm talking about red buff, blue buff, and back harpies are all going to be spawning at 30 seconds.
Double checking on the mid harpies as well. They might be spawning at 32.
Oh, they may as well.
Yeah.
It's just 35 here, but you
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
we're in PTS for a reason. This is what
Mid
it's all
Harpies
about.
30, it does on our official patch notes here.
Yeah.
Just to have
Yeah.
both.
And so that, there's really two different timings.
I don't get the official ones. I get these dummy ones. Isaiah keeps robbing me all
Hey,
the time.
so this is really impactful in two ways. Mostly the Void, purple, now spawning the same as Speed.
Yeah.
What this does is spread teams out in the early game. So that Speed buff was spawning early to give the junglers a head start in the jungle, but that also made there really only one possible objective to invade.
Sure.
Now that there's more that'll be spread out, there'll be two different targets, that will cause teams to spread out a little bit more. It means that if there is an invade meta introduced, people might be switching around more, people might be focusing one buff or the other depending on the team comp. We'll see some more interesting gameplay. It's also, everything is spawning even a little earlier than it was before. So although it's earlier with the purple is earlier with Speed, now both are even earlier, giving everyone a little bit more time to clear the camps before reaching wave. We were seeing some weird cases where certain mid-jungle combinations just could not make it from yellow to mid
exactly.
without missing one minion, and that would
one
make you
minion
miss level
matters.
2, and then you would oftentimes lose your lane pressure, lose your red buff. Yeah, it was bad. So that's going to be smoothed out a lot now too.
And we'll move on then to the jungle buff changes as well, because obviously with the camp changing, some of these are going to be changing in terms of what they give you. The mana blue buff is going to have a bit of a change here. We're removing the flat 20 MP5 increase, and it's now going to have a 2 MP5 per 10% of missing mana instead. So this is going to be like, you want to manage your mana better now.
Yeah, we were talking about resource management. That's something we want to encourage in the soul lane is smart resource management. This will encourage you to be aggressive with your mana and know that you will get it back for being lower. So rather than sitting on your high amount of health pool just constantly regenning, you are encouraged to use your mana pool, but be careful when you start getting the lower ends because you might run out of mana at key moments. So much more in favor of watching different skill levels express how they want to use their abilities in lane.
So blue might become a little bit more of an interesting point of contention because you want that region anyway, but also it's not going to give you as much. You're still going to have the cooldown though, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure on that because sometimes they don't always say. Red buff is the next one on this list. It says we're removing the 5% power bonus versus enemy gods. It still gives power, this buff, correct? But it's going to be just toned down a bit.
All its other effects are remaining, just a little nerf. This buff is already very impactful, very highly sought after at all points in the game.
Yeah.
We just felt like a little bit of a downward tuning would be great to make sure that people could more evenly focus on all of the jungle camps as opposed to really focusing on red.
Okay, and then we're moving on to red. From red, we'll go to speed, yellow, or orange, whichever one you want to call
yellow.
it. I don't really care. It's speed buff. That's just the way
Butter.
it is.
Butter. The butter
I
buff.
thought it was
butter
close with
buff?
what I said earlier on, but
Become slippery, you know?
with the yellow buff, we're going to be adding 10% crowd control reduction. Why?
I mean, just similar like we were talking about the red buff, right, which need a little bit of toning down. The speed buff has had a lot of different changes in this last couple of seasons. It's lost a lot of movement speed, and we didn't want to just buff that constantly. We did add that new mechanic so that, the more camps you kill, you get that stacking movement speed as well. But I think if we gave it a little bit more movement speed, we just kept playing with that number, we keep riding this fine line of junglers becoming, a little bit too fast, especially with Blink, or a little bit too slow. We wanted to add something tertiary that would help them as well, but not give them a direct power increase. We didn't want to give them extra lifesteal or anything like that.
Sure.
We found out that CCR was probably a pretty good stat to give them more well-rounded buff.
It's pretty effective, I guess, on a jungler as well, having a little bit of CCR.
Yeah, if you're going to go gank someone and they freeze to peel, you have a little bit quicker time getting out of that to try and jump back on the target.
Okay, that's speed buff. We'll move on to purple next, and that's void buff, is also written down. We've removed 2 protection reduction per enemy god within the aura radius. And we've also removed 5% of the additional protections reduction. Yes, that's what this buff did. No one knew it.
It did a lot of things.
Nobody really cared about it for some unknown
ramping
reason.
increase the more enemies around you, and it had percent and flat. So we're moving those 2 factors. It just has flat reduction now.
Right, but it also has been added to have 10% attack speed.
Yes. This is an exciting change.
Well,
This
it's
is
not a
something-
support buff anymore, is it?
Well,
It's been stolen by the hunters again.
this could still be good on supports, although hunters will probably pick it up more often.
Yes, they will.
It still does the physical, the protection reductions as well. It's got a split of both now,
Good. So the hunters get a buff, huh?
and Sylvanas too.
We're gonna. Oh, that's a good point. Sylvanas can work with this. Ah!
Yeah, see?
Now we're gonna fight with the hunter over. But I'm Sylvanas. I can clear quicker.
Yeah,
than you.
exactly.
We'll see how that works. So purple buff. That's all the camp changes, so to speak, in terms of what the buffs are going to be doing. We'll move on to some jungle camp additions, and this is one that was spoken about a little bit. I want to go in a bit more detail here, guys.
Yeah, this is the new objective for the season.
The Jungle Shrine. This is a new addition to the game that's gonna give you your team more gold, basically.
Yeah, so
Right.
similar to the totem in Soul Lane, it was a feels good thing where you were able to control this objective, and for controlling it, you gave your team a morale boost, you helped your team out. For junglers, it's a very similar thing. As your team is clearing the jungle, as you're being effective at clearing the jungle, you get to kill these Jungle Shrine like gold chalices that will give global gold to your entire team. And that just lets the jungler not only have impact on his team and feel like he's contributing to the team overall, but also it rewards the high farm types of junglers. If you're focusing on killing camps over maybe ganking, you're a little bit more rewarded than someone who chose to gank instead.
So if you're like a scaling jungler that's good in the late game, you might just want to be farming through that early mid period, and you can help out your team this way. Is it only junglers that kill camps that help to reward this?
No, it's any
it's
minion
anyone.
on your side of the jungle that dies.
Any minions that are down your side of the jungle that your team killed
Exactly.
will add to this gold pile.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so let's look through this. The shrine gains a stack for every 3 jungle camp monsters your team kills, up to 7 stacks, and attacking the shrine consumes 1 stack and rewards each player on your team with 5 gold. 3 basic attacks will clear the shrine of all stacks, and each team's shrine cannot be attacked by the enemy players. Why not? Why, huh? Why can't I go and rob the bank? What's wrong with that, boys?
It'd be a pretty large swing to rob the bank.
I think it would be
Mid-season.
counterproductive to hurting the invade meta to add a major feature to invade at the same time.
There's a little bank account.
So this is what the shrine looks like. With I believe it has 1 stack right now, as you can see that little gold goblet there. Boom, and you can break it, and you'll give gold for everybody.
And that would just go to the whole team. You don't
the
just
whole
shoot, but you get the
team.
register.
And as you
there.
kill camps, you'll actually see that shrine populate with more of those gold goblets to symbolize the number of stacks in the shrine.
Is there anyone could walk up on that in your team and hit those goblets too, right?
Yes.
Exactly. So the positioning is pretty important there because, if the jungle is preoccupied in a different lane, he is ganking, the mid lane or even the soul lane can just drop by there quickly and give those 3 basic attacks to collect it.
Yeah, it's a convenient location because often the mid laner, if they see the jungle maybe he's ganking dual lane, they'll go farm those back harpies because they're up, and then they can help clear that at that time.
No, it says 7 stacks on this as well. I just want to bring that up. That means that after a certain point, you can't keep collecting and then
Correct.
do a big burst of gold at a certain point.
When the
right?
bank is full, you gotta go clear it out to keep maximizing it. So and you'll actually be able to see there will be a mini map indicator on the map that will show you as it will fill up. So as opposed to a normal jungle camp that's either there or gone or shows a wheel timer, it won't look like that. It'll instead look like an icon that's always there, and it will fill up more like a structure icon would to show you how full it is.
So it said 3 jungle camp monsters your team kills will do it, right? So 3 for 1 goblet.
Right.
Yeah.
In the enemy side, if you invade, what happens there?
I believe that they don't get anything for it. I don't quite remember.
We were playtesting with different versions where either, with the invade stuff again that we're talking about, it may feel kind of punishing if they got full benefit and they got the shrine effects.
Yeah.
But I believe we ended up on taking the enemy jungle side would contribute half the rate of your jungle shrine.
Yeah, I do have that written here. I think actually clearing
Yep, there you
camps in
go.
enemy jungle will contribute towards your shrine's stacks, but at half the rate.
So you get reduced bonuses for invading in
one
this
goblet for 6 things cleared in the enemy jungle.
Right, so
essentially.
it's a very small amount, but you don't feel as bad.
So you can still steal from the jungle a little bit and get a bit of reward for that, but it's not
And
as
another important distinction that we haven't seen here is even though this can stack up to 7 times, 3 hits will clear it. So you'll get
Yes.
1, 2, and then all 5 on the 3rd hit.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want you just standing here, just kind of hitting this thing for too long. It's meant to be something that you weave into your rotations and as you clear and as you gank, and that's what it's intended to
And
be.
what's fun as well is that can be split between several different players too.
Yep.
Well, after the jungle shrine, we've also got the new left side mid harpies. You guys have seen this at home a little bit on the overhead map view that we released earlier on.
Yes.
These left side mid harpy camps, there's a difference now between when you go through the left-hand side of the map or the right-hand side, Gold Fury side, or I say left-hand side of the map, but it's not. It's Order side left,
Right.
Chaos side right.
It's the Gold
Fire
Fury
Giant side or Gold Fury side, easiest way.
So if you go towards Gold
the
Fury,
Gold Fury side.
there's going to be more of a separation now between able to just rotate all the way around towards the enemy red buff.
As
Yeah.
a mid laner, I'm definitely smiling a lot because one of the reasons why we did this change is a little bit more agency for the mid lane. Now, as you can see, it's going to be a little bit harder
No
for you to
baby
get
harpies.
invaded and ganked on that side.
We're going to kill babies in the game now. What's happening?
These are the same small harpies that have always existed in the
Oh,
game.
are they? Sorry, they
Yeah.
just look
Yeah, they
so
provide
much
the same
smaller.
value.
They're
So
not
we
gonna
have
be
small harpies, elder harpies, and we have the new alpha harpies. Those are new, but these are the same smalls. They're just now only smalls as opposed to paired small big or
So
whatever.
there's two small ones on either side, and you can see with this clip through, we can see how the rotation's going to be. You have to go past the oracles. You can't leap over
You
that
can
wall.
leap over it, you can
Yep,
leap
there it
over
is. There's an example of
Is it, how thick is that wall out of interest? I'm probably a bit too technical because, like, is there a certain character that can get through and
It
can't
looks
get
about
through?
40 units.
Yeah, like
'cause
Can
40,
Merlin
45.
blink through that?
No, I don't think you can.
That's what I
And
care
Merlin,
about.
I believe,
That's
has a
stuff.
30 unit range.
Yeah, the shortest ones.
Yeah, so the short jumps
So I
not
believe
so
it's
much.
around 40-ish.
The longer ones will be able to get
New
through.
buff Camisots. Can you do it?
I think you can.
It might be just right on the
It
line.
might be right in the line, now, actually, thinking about that. So that's a little look at the left-hand side harpies.
Playing mid lane Camazons.
Well, AJ alluded to it moments ago. The new dual lane Alpha Harpy is also available too. And this is going to be extra experience for the dual lane. Is this one of the reasons to try and drive more, well, the two people to dual lane now?
Yeah, so the one thing that we did to drive more people to do a lane is the Pro Spine. That will probably pull people there to start, but what keeps you there is control and lane dominance. And one thing that helps drive that is also an extra buff there that you could potentially invade and steal from your opponent, or you want to secure on your own side. And these things are tough.
I was going to ask because
They hurt
I
as
was going
well.
to say because like having a new camp on this side sounds great, but can't someone just solo this down?
From my anecdotal feel is
how long this thing
they are oracles in difficulty, but they hit harder. So like if you are the hunter trying to solo them, you are making a large commitment to your health pool to do this. You really want that tank there helping you soak hits. You really want that extra DPS.
I do. I like the fact that guessing the dual lane we see a little bit more lifesteal and sustain get built up as well.
Right,
So as the
exactly.
game goes on,
Then
you
the
probably
hunter
can
will
be
be more
quite
able
safe.
Yeah,
think
you
about
can.
himself.
Once hunters start to come online, they surely can.
Gotcha. And how much? I don't really see the.
So all the
experience
numbers
on the
are available
patch notes.
in the patch notes, yeah.
So is it a decent reward? of
XP,
gold?
base gold reward 35, XP 40.
Okay.
So it's not huge,
Right.
honestly.
But it's something to keep you busy too.
Yes,
Something
and it's
for
something to gain as additional advantage if you're pressuring your lane properly.
Yeah.
But it's risky. It's something that's hard to solo, especially in the early game. And it's just adding more. A lot of the themes, a lot of these reasons we've done a few of these things is to continually spread things out on the map. You know, we've always gotten feedback about people say bigger map, but in the meantime, what we can do is really spread out sources of golden experience. It's a major part of playing a MOBA.
Yeah.
So since we've added the jungle shrine, that's a new objective. It involves you having to clear lots of things all over the map. It also has caused us to decrease gold in some other places, specifically killing towers. So towers were already pretty big snowball effect. Killing a tower is already a really big tactical advantage. You've essentially reduced your enemy's territory by a huge amount. So we've actually decreased some of that to help make up for all of these new camps on the map.
Gotcha.
So it's as we spread these things out, it encourages players to spread out more, it encourages more tactical choices, and it also reduces snowball.
It feels like a lot. Some of the gold has been redistributed from certain aspects into different aspects in the map too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what that does is the things I listed there,
Yeah.
which gives you more tactical choices and decreases snowball. Because now, in order to snowball heavily your team, you have to make more small victories across the map, right?
Yeah, well, we've had a look at the jungle stuff for now. I do want to go into items next because there is an item we want to talk about, and I was very excited, and then I realized it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Hand of the Gods is back. It's in a consumable format, however, very similar to, the best way I can put it is like the rituals almost, right?
I suppose you could say
Yeah,
that, but it's
Sure.
really
Similar sort of
Let's,
way.
like, go back. to
that's
my
an
memory. Like, oh, yeah,
esoteric
kinda
reference
like
for
that.
Sorry,
some
I've
of
been
our
around a
players.
long time,
It is a
but, like,
consumable that instead of providing a buff to you or a heal over time, it just has an effect immediately. So, I mean, like an award. Award
You're
is a
right.
consumable that just places a deployable that you can see through, or you can see from. Now, this one will kill or deal damage to neighboring jungle camps.
And it's also worth noting that because this is 51 minutes into that game, the camps are a lot tankier than they would be at.
Oh,
a
good
full
point.
Well, notice. We shouldn't have said anything and just had people going, wow, I'm going to need so long.
I'm
to
sure
kill
the
these
exact
guys."
damage is specified.
It's 150.
Yeah, 150 true damage that does get amplified with Assassin's Blessing.
So you can
Yes.
only carry one of these consumables at a time, just so you know as well. So the idea of this is a consumable that you can take into your jungle and then go to a camp and use, and it'll deal damage to everything around you that's a minion.
And just
That's a jungle.
Jungle
jungle
minions.
minions.
And only
Not
jungle minions on your side of the map. So you cannot use it on bosses or neutral camps.
Mid harpies, no.
on your side, mid harpies,
Yeah.
yes, but not
Oh,
on the
left
neutral
ones.
Not fire
What
giant
about
mid-harpies.
Fire giant mid harpies.
No.
Okay, but left hand. Oh, so Gold Fury mid harpies, you can use this.
You can.
And
Interesting.
your side's alpha harpies.
But those are also the squishiest jungle monsters in the entire
if you use
map.
it on
So
that,
I'd be
that'd be-
surprised if you wanted to use it there. But generally what this does is let you get a head start if you're more of a risky clear comp
Right.
in any lane. So this could be used by the duo lane if you're picking a more late game character. Or it could be used on the jungle if you're picking a more untraditional jungle.
Yeah, if you see them pick a Herc support and you think you're going to get invaded, you can also pick this up and be like, nope, I'm just going to kill my speed buff and then walk away from you.
Just as some
and not
insurance.
have to deal with the harassment or potential steal.
I'm probably going to put you guys on the spot real quick, but can you sell this item back to base if you don't use it? And do you get the cash back?
I don't believe we let you sell it. I don't think you get anything for selling it.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to check because that's always the thing of like maybe I take it for 100 gold at the start and then if I don't use it, you know.
No, I don't think you
It's
can
going to
sell
be using
it.
up that consumable slot, though, so that's a pretty big deal.
If it does sell, it would sell for the fractional
amount,
normal
right.
price that other
Gotcha.
things
So it'd be
sell
like
back
50
for.
or something,
Yeah.
like 25 or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question though.
It was just an interesting one from my point of view. Like maybe you just get it for safety, right?
So
just in case.
it costs 100 gold. Yeah, and it's not bad to have for safety. And there's a lot of places where it can be really effective. You know, getting to lane on time is really important.
Definitely.
So even if you're a little unsure about how your clear time might go, it doesn't really hurt you to get it too much.
We've tried a few starts in mid lane as well, where the mid lane mage or hunter as it may be would start with speed, go to mid lane, and then do red by themselves with hog. But you're sacrificing consumables. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
it's
that is a
fun,
trade-off.
Especially with how the builds have been through the years, because you know the blessings around 800, so you always have that sort of: do I get boots? Do I go lost artifact if you're a mage, or am I going for some devourer's gauntlets? Look at that sort of rush there. On to more new items though. This is something that, like, it's not something a new item. It technically is like a new relic slot almost. The Vision Shard. Let's have a look. Talk about this because once upon a time you could buy relics, and now we just keep giving people free relics all the time. And making it even easier. And now we're not just going to have one free relic at the start, which is, you know, your beads, your Aegis, whatever.
Right.
You're now going to have this Vision Shard. Talk me through what this is about.
Yeah, so the Vision Shard it's taking up the inactive slot that you normally would wait until level 12 to upgrade. It's kind of like a mini relic in the sense,
Okay.
where its effect is strong. Clearly, you're getting vision from it, but it's not quite as strong as maybe the other relics that you might get. But this gives you access to a single ward at the start of the game that you can place. And the key things here is its range is less, as well as its duration is significantly less.
Gotcha.
So while it does give you vision, you have to be a lot more tactful with it. Like if you know the jungler might come to invade you around a minute, you might want to wait to place that so you can place it at the key location, because if you place it too early, it could die before the jungler gets there.
And the numbers on this ward of how long it lasts and such is always up for debate as well, right?
Sure,
Maybe it's
those are
too
all
short,
different ways we can
maybe
tweak.
it's too long, maybe it needs a bit more range, a little less range.
Certainly
The
we'd be
cooldown of the relic
open
as
to
well.
balancing it after launch.
Because I know that's a big concern that some of the people have said about that I saw was they were a little bit worried that maybe it's too much vision at the start and then junglers can't gank.
Right.
But it does seem on a base level like 60 seconds doesn't seem that long.
Yeah, 60 seconds with a 2-minute cooldown, and which means you really have to put it down at the times you think you're going to get ganked. And even then, with the smaller radius as well, the jungler might still be able to find their way through unless you're placing in really intelligent spots.
Right.
Can it be killed by sentry wards? Can you kill that?
Yes.
You get a
Kill it with
reward
sentry
to kill
wards,
it?
you won't get a gold reward.
Why not?
You will be able to teleport to it like normal, and it
Oh.
will count for the normal ward limit as well.
Oh, that's really, I love the idea of the teleport.
So we're not increasing the number of wards on the map total by a lot. All we're doing is encouraging some more tactful early game warding.
Teaching people to ward still.
And then
in
when
season
you
7.
when you hit level 12, you will just be able to upgrade that to another relic for free. Or you can hang on to it for a little while, as some people might.
I'm pretty sure one of you guys already said this, but the shard ward will not have ward skin applications to it.
Right.
It's going to have a smaller radius, lower duration, and provides no gold when
It has
killed.
that new model as
I just
well.
want to make sure everybody
Yeah.
knows, because you can tell the difference between you killing one of
Right.
these wards versus one of the standard wards or a sanctuary ward.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's it for, 2 new items there so far. There'll be a few new things coming, I'll tell you that. Miscellaneous changes next up. XP splitting, experience splitting. It's always been a conversation that about how much experience you share, because it can have the situation where you've got junglers holding hands with mid laners a little bit more, but also it's important for supports.
Yes. So it used to be 150%. This used
Yeah.
to be a
Yeah.
significantly higher number than what's listed here. We brought it to 120, and we watched players.
Which was a huge nerf.
Yes, we watched players optimize what that meant, and that over time has resulted in certain lanes being solo farm, certain characters sacrificing a lot of early strength to be able to go invade. We've kind of seen what the optimization of what 120% looks like, and we feel that bringing it up a little bit, not too much, will help especially with all the other changes that we're doing, encourage a little bit more grouping up in those spread out scenarios, mainly the duo lane. This will help out a lot. If there's nothing for the jungler to do, the jungler can go to mid lane or solo lane and it'll feel good about it, or help duo lane with a gank and go pressure, invade stuff. Just this will help encourage group play a little bit more, but hopefully not go back to where we were when we were at 150%.
Well, obviously the numbers are, it would still have to double to be back
Yeah.
where we were.
So we're giving an extra 5% extra experience for sharing with other people around you.
Yes.
That's basically the.
It's really what it is, less so than encouraging group play. It makes it so it doesn't feel like you're punished for grouping
Yes.
up, which we had certain roles at certain times in this year's meta where they really felt like, wow, just because I have to share with this player, I feel bad about it.
For the
Whenever-
first 3
just going to give you a
months
little bit more.
of the new season, as a support player, if you're out there, just turn around and say you're getting 5% more from me being here. Okay, just make sure you tell them that. Not only that, we've also got the Totem of Crew rewards are going to get adjusted as well. There was a talk about the solo lane earlier on, where we talked about how there's the coup, the buff and stuff. What's going on with the Totem of Crew, Palm?
It largely felt, especially on the first round of getting it, it felt very impactful.
Yeah.
It felt like it gave a lot of, especially MP5 around the map, and that allowed a lot of lanes to pressure more than they would have otherwise, and encouraged solo laners that really could secure it at level 1, being the more dominant picks in the solo lane.
Right.
We want to make sure that it still feels worthwhile to go for, and still feels like it's the thing the solo laner brings to the team.
Keeps it busy.
We don't want to make it so binary in how strong it is,
Right.
so that a character that secures it always at level 1 is the go-to pick. We want some characters that are maybe a little bit weaker, but then can start taking the second, third, fourth one for them to also be considered relevant.
So
There's
that's
a lot of pro player feedback regarding this change, and what you're going to see here, if you're following along your patch notes, is a small gold increase or decrease from 25 to 20 on all of the totem kills for the team, as well as the MP5 is going to scale now. So it's only 10 MP5 from 0 to 5 minutes, but then it goes up to 20 and up to 30 at 5 and 10 minutes. So that way we actually now have a ramping effect on killing the totem to help fit more with the current pace of your gameplay.
yeah, because the early game, obviously winning that first wave or two, the coups are important, but after that you kind of they're more important now to keep going because you're going to get more of a regen factor to them. Especially the mana buff being changed as well.
Yeah.
You're going to want this even more so.
That's true. And
Because
really
we have that
what the core goal is, we want to open up the solo lane viability character pool, because people were focusing really heavily on ones that could get this super early. And we want more options there. We want people to be able to play a strategy where okay, I'm not going to get the first one, and that's okay, when they weren't saying that.
Okay, moving on then to the next part we're going to talk about is blessing changes. There's going to be some changes to the blessings because every year the blessings have a discussion about which ones are the best, which ones are the worst. We start things off with Guardian's blessing this time round. It looks like it's going to be taking some changes to this. It looks like it's hit, but it's having some changes to it. Removing the MP5 from Guardian's blessing. Not only that, we're going to remove the 7 HP and mana restore per minion assisted, but instead it's now going to provide 7 HP5 and 7 MP5 while within 60 feet of an ally god. So if you're in range of someone with this, you're going to get a buff that's going to give you health regen and MP5 regen as long as you're in with range of your team, and it'll last for 10 seconds. So it means there's going to be a chance for you to be able to rotate from one place to another and have 10 seconds to get to another team, right?
Right. This is the no
Just
solo.
refresh, right?
This is the no solo Guardian's Blessing
Guardian's
change,
Blessing.
right? This is what it is.
Solo lane.
That is exactly what this is. So you're going to see, well, there's an additional slight nerf because this blessing is really strong. But really now what it is in order to get the sustain, you can still get the gold.
Right.
But in order to get the sustain, the main sustain from this item, you need to be near an ally god. That part only works when you're near an ally god.
Can I just walk back in and out of range to get my regen back?
Yes.
So if I'm right on the cusp and I just walk out and I can see my 10 seconds countdown, I'm like, okay, this is my edge. And then walk back in real quick and then run! We got 10 seconds to get to mid real quick and make sure we get that. Okay.
Sure, you can,
makes
but
sense.
optimizing that is not a huge deal, But
You say that now, the pro's like, I missed 2 ticks.
someone will build a strategy around it. Geb will only be viable because he can do that. Maybe, I don't think so.
It's
but
one of the restorative effects as well, right? So
Right.
you're not going to be getting any gold change or anything like that. If you're at full health and mana, you don't have to worry about it at all.
That's a good point. Cobbs. Assassin's Blessing, moving on to that one with a little Guardians. We're going to increase the damage versus jungle monsters. Is that by large amount or just?
Yeah, so it's went from 35%, which is what it normally is, to 40%. So it's just a
Okay.
small amount. The jungle minions are getting a little bit tankier, so we wanted to keep Assassin's Blessing kind of on par with those changes.
And that is an important thing. we saved this section to talk about now with the blessing, but a lot of the jungle camps across the Conquest map had some slight buffs to their health and protections.
They have, yeah.
This is for a couple reasons. So, of course, the Assassin's Blessing being adjusted along with it. So junglers should notice similar clear times.
Right.
But other roles will have a slightly more difficult clear times. But also, a lot of the camps were repositioned in ways that we now intend you to play differently, right? So we said that Alpha Harpy would be really hard to kill. That's because we want 2 players over there. A lot of people were saying, maybe in the blog posts were being announced, a lot of people were saying that maybe mid lane would have trouble now because of these tankier camps, but now they have these 2 smaller harpies, which are actually easier to kill. So even though some things got more,
they've got a consumable now, they can clear it that way if
well,
they're really struggling.
I know, but this is just a logical thought process that the community is going through, and I want them to understand that this is intentional. And just the fact that everything got tankier doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to feel that way in every combination because of the class role position changes that might happen.
Right.
So this is a big change across the whole map together, but really we've noticed this feedback over years. People wanted little bit tankier camps. What that does is actually create more interesting fights around them, right? That's really our goal. Make more interesting combat in Smite. So when these camps don't die in one hit, that gives players more chances to spot this out being done, chances to fight against them, chances to kind of steal them or lock down gods while they're distracted. So just giving us a little bit more time to fight around those should give us some pretty interesting gameplay options.
Let's do the blessings. I'm going to switch real quick, pivot away from Conquest towards the Specialist Blessing. It's also listed here, the Evolved Specialist Blessing as well. It's now going to provide 10 HP 5 on top of its already stats, because I'm pretty sure it gave movement speed and MP5?
Mana per 5 and cooldown reduction on the Evolve.
It was really good in Assault if you were a healer, but now it could be even better because you've got a bit more reach than that too.
Those non-conquest blessings, still sleeper. You know, if you're an arena joust assault player, try those out. Those are good.
Penetration on a blessing, take it.
So now, you know, we have a lot more bug fixes and some other changes that could definitely affect Conquest. That everyone definitely take a look at these patch notes. We don't want to go into all of them. We'll be here all day and all night, which we're
not in Valencia now, friends. I'm not doing it
So
again.
take a look. There's some really interesting stuff in there. Some additional quality of life stuff. We added better visual feedback on the mini map for minions versus fire minions versus Oni minions. We adjusted the range of. We had fixed some bugs where minions could get too far away than intended in certain places, and this could affect all game modes and make it like so your Anubis circle would clear the wave one match, but then another wave might have gotten jostled on the way, and now the archers are too far away to hit them.
Gotcha.
Fix some issues like that. We repositioned the spirit minion a little bit at the first wave, just so it's more likely that both members of the dual lane will get it, and even more changes. So go ahead and take a look through all those as you go through it. There's a lot of small but impactful quality of life and bug fix type of things.
I did think this was a thinner package I got here, but clearly for all the bug fixes and things out on there as
the
well.
bug fix list is long, honestly.
Good.
We probably should have done a section on it today, but
Enough. You guys can check it at home as
I'm
well.
stoked
You'll see
about
in
it.
the game.
Read it over at home.
Let's move on though to consumable changes, the next thing I've got on here. Because we're going to see some changes to these consumables. We're going to start off with the Chalice of Healing and Healing Potion. This has already been mentioned to you guys at home, but just want to reaffirm again. The effects no longer stack with each other. So the Chalice of Healing and the Healing Potions won't stack on top of each other. It says the fountain volume will now overwrite all heal potion effects.
Yes. So
That doesn't seem like that's going to be very meaningful.
So TLDR of the change, right, is health potions and chalice potions are essentially considered the same thing now, which means that if I pop 3 healing potions and then I pop a 4th chalice potion, they're just going to stack on top of each other.
Right.
So instead of stacking side by side and giving double regen, they just add to the duration.
Yeah.
The problem with that is I hit chalice, 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 walk out of the fountain, walk back in, chalice, 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 walk out, walk back in. You can infinite it. So now if you use a chalice in the fountain, if you use a potion in the fountain kills it. So do not abuse it.
Because I brought one of those issues up previously and already worked out a fix.
That was the first, when we first invented chalices, the community was like, before we even said anything, they're like, how do I make it go infinite? We're like, no, you're not going infinite.
So that's the healing potion situation in terms of the Chalice of Healing and healing potions start stacking. Same thing can be said for the Chalice of Mana and Mana potions. They won't stack and they'll have the same effect in Fountain. If you go back in, the Chalice will
A lot of people questioning on us on those. It's obviously not as big of a gameplay impact, but it is a good consistency sake. We want these similar mechanics to function similarly. So mana doesn't stack either.
And then potions,
multi-potion does stack.
Still going to be the same.
Correct.
So
Multi-potion will still stack with a health potion or chalice and
Or
a
Baron's
mana
brew.
or chalice. Oh yeah, Barons too. Don't forget to grab some brew.
You always should get the brew. Not only that, we're going to have one other thing to talk about, which is a rework to the Potion of Power. Because it's not just a potion of well, I mean, it is
Magical
just a
power or
potion of
physical
power,
power, yeah.
but it's going to be combined from the two different versions we've had previously.
Right, so we added some more complicated effects to those potions. Nobody seemed very excited by those. People still bought them at the same kind of place in the game ever since the power potion level change of Season 4 or whatever to prevent the power potion start.
Yeah, the start.
This has been an item that you buy kind of as you're finishing build before you start looking into the elixirs, the speed potion, etc. So people are still buying it then. We're just merging this into one potion. So now physicals or magical, whatever, you'll buy this one potion that gives you both types of power and CDR.
So you get 70 magical power or 40 physical power, 10% CDR, and it's got a 5-minute duration until
It's
or
pretty
until
much the
kill.
same as them both combined. We're just removing one of
And
the
really what
physical
this
power
does is
effects.
just help it make people able to find potions in the shop more easily. Now with the addition of like things like Baron's Brew and then Hand of the Gods, is starting to get a little long list in there. So
Okay, well that's a few of the updates so far. It's time now to, you ready to go again? Because we're almost in balance
that was
now.
just Conquest,
Yeah,
really.
Let's
So
just
now
some updates to
and
Conquest
some
in general.
items that had heavy implications with Conquest, but are also affected by other modes. But now we're transitioning into the complete items section.
Item balance. So let's talk here first of all. What was the major goal of the items this year? Because I know we're going to go through penetration stuff eventually on mages. That's been talked about a little bit.
Right.
But what was the overall goal here from your point of view?
Yeah, so we wanted to look at items that have just traditionally been underwhelming, and at the start of the season, find ways that we can kind of bring them out, get people excited about purchasing these items that have kind of like fallen to the wayside, or look at places where we've adjusted different items and different strengths of characters and different strengths of roles, and see what we can do to either help or in some cases nerf whatever needs to happen for these items.
Our goal is always to create the most number of viable items. We want the most number of combinations of builds. We want the most amount of choices. We want everything to feel like it can work in some situation or
There's a
some
reason
god.
for every item to
Yes.
exist.
Right, exactly.
There's a situation to pick it up in that could be useful. We're going to start off then with neutral items. Mystical Mail, first of all, going to have a decreased cost, but also have decreased health on this item, so it may be a little bit more viable for you to pick
Now,
up.
I am very excited for this one. Some people might see it as a nerf, but
It's
I
still gonna
tend
have the damage to it.
I like to rush this item and joust and things like that, and you can do some
God.
crazy damage. So this change is really exciting.
But you won't be as tanky for it.
That's true, and that's honestly okay. One of the problems with this item is when it's just too stat dense
Right.
across the board. That's when it's historically been a problem. But it is kind of a flex item, and it has these interesting applications. So being able to rush it, that fits with our design consistency with the way we approach other items of similar role.
It's one of the things that we saw in solo lane a lot
So-
because it gave a lot of, not so sustainable extra damage in that lane to help clear in the early.
Me and the Threes Bros running double Guardian rushing this is going to be a thing. We're going to continue to do that.
Well, that's
It's
Mystical
been
Mail.
successful for us in the past.
We'll move on. Witchblade is going to get a bit of a change as well. It's going to get some more health added to it here. It's going to go by 50 health. That should help out a little bit on making it a bit more viable. I think it was in a pretty good spot anyway in terms of what it brought.
Yeah, it's still a little bit of
just
love to the item.
Need a bit more love.
Remind
The
Okay.
me
problem is,
it still
as
exists.
something that supports might want to itemize into to help their team through the aura.
I
It
have
didn't
done it
have the
occasionally.
stats, so
Yeah.
giving it just a little health. It's still a hybrid item, but now supports hopefully feel a little bit better about picking it up when they really feel like it's a good counter item.
Shoguns as well is also going to get an update, increase the attack speed aura. Interesting. It's going to go by 5%, so it makes it a bit more attractive to if you're using a few more in-hand characters in your game, maybe Carly, Sol, and any other hunter in the game. Add that together, they'll be quite happy.
So there's a bit of a theme developing here, if
Yeah.
you might have noticed that all of the items we're looking to for the kind of support class, and of course some of these could fit towards warriors as well, are aura items. We're buffing a lot of them in order to make sure that this class feels like they've got something interesting, impactful, and some new choices at the start of the season.
So that's Shoguns. We've also got Sovereignty on this list. That's going to get a bit more HP 5 added to it. And on top of that, we're also going to have Heartward Amulet as the two auras, as Adrian was just mentioning. We're going to see Heartward Amulet having a bit increased MP5. Is that personal MP5 or is that team MP5?
That's team MP.
That's on the aura.
Okay.
That's on the aura.
Just
so
wanted to make sure.
there you go. Your assault changes again,
but
Mr.
where?
Assault main. But also, I
You
really
don't
feel
need an
like
assault anymore. Don't go getting Heartwards if you're playing that. It's on other people responsible. There's Blackthorn hammers. There's Chronos pendants. They can do it themselves.
here's the top. We should have a show just about the top tier assault gameplay.
Listen,
honestly,
we can
but
have a ranked assault discussion at some point. It's going to happen.
I don't know about ranked, but
Season 9, ranked assault, no trades, no rerolls. You are locked on the god, and certain healers are in a tier.
with our precious moments on this long show, this is what we choose to
This
talk about.
was the most important thing for me
all
to
right,
say.
so this regen effect though, we really believe is underrated in Conquest too. A lot of people when they think of Heartward Sov, they only think about the protections, but in this mode where you're out in lane longer, those regens and being able to share those with your team, that's underrated. That is an interesting effect.
I
And
do want to
we
mention
think
as
this is
well,
going to bring
HP5
these
is
items
affected by
back.
Anti-heal as well.
MP5 and HP5 are not. These are actual
HP5 is not
MP5 and
affected by
HP5
anything.
No, only the healing
stats.
effects.
Only
That's what I
heal
wanted
over
to-
time and stuff.
Because that's
so-
just where it's like,
No, you cannot.
HP, you just stack HP5 and you'd be good to go.
Correct.
Yeah, in a way.
HP5 is a very potent stat that is often considered underwhelming.
And
for
we will
most
be
players, but it's very
going
strong.
over this concept again with a new HP5 item later for an interesting reason.
So that's it for the neutral items. We're now going to move on to the magical items, and this is where we're going to get a bit tricky because we talked a little bit about what's been going on with the penetration. You guys can all read up on that on the website as well, all to do with all the changes that's going to be happening to the magical penetration.
Right.
In terms of the percentages versus percent versus flat
Well,
pen.
so we're going to start with new items.
Right.
We're going to go through some of the new magical items, and then we're going to talk more about penetration when we get to Obsidian Shard.
One of them just kind of mixes the.
But some of the
Actually,
new, but some of the new
Dynasty
items.
Plate Helm and then goes to the new item, but it's part of that
But
tree.
yeah, it's part of the tree. But some of the new items, their design role was created out of the penetration change. And we can talk about that.
And
as
you'll
we
see
go.
exactly what we talk about there when we get to that. So, first of all, Dynasty Plate Helm will now have a Tier 3 counterpart, the Tyrannical Plate Helm.
That's the new item.
We have updated the cost and stats of this item to better match this new item. Tyrannical Plate Helm, let's go through it. It's going to be, Tyrannical Plate Helm has high magical power and an interesting new passive. The passive is, if there are allied minions around you, they gain 20% max HP and 20% attack speed. Whenever an allied minion dies around you, you gain 5 power per stack, up to 6 stacks.
Right.
Yep.
20% max
love
HP
your
and
reaction
20%
here.
attack.
So to note, this is
the
no
minions
longer a
around it.
penetration tree at all. So the
Right.
Dynasty Plate Helm, no penetration. It's going to have similar stats as we see on Tyrannical, which is power, magical power, physical protection, and health. But then let's talk about the item design more as a whole, Ponicle.
Wild.
Yeah,
So
the
we
minion
want-
buff item.
Yes, this has been discussed a lot. Is an item that helps you push or helps you like threaten to push down a phoenix or help you break a siege. A Tyrannical Plate Helm is essentially that. You can pick it up on maybe if you're the more kind of frontline mage, a bruiser mage, or if you're a support and you want to pick this up for the defensive nature of it. You can basically walk next to your minions, lead them to the charge, and when they fail you and die to the tower or die to the enemy team and they've let you down, you take matters in your own hand and you start punching the tower yourself.
So even when there's no minions, you get something around as long as you've been near minions recently.
That's true. You get a bit of a buff after the minions have
It's
Yeah.
a pretty good
Two
couple
questions.
of Emperor's armor too.
Oni minions, do they get affected by this?
All lane minions around you should be affected by this.
All minions. Fire minions.
Clay
Fire
minions.
No. Only actual
Clay-
minions.
No.
Those are clay
Only-
soldiers. They're not minions. They're
Yep, there you
pets.
go.
I'm just making
Don't
sure.
don't try to
Nice
change.
try.
There'll be people at home just like me now going, so the clay soldier minions, I can buff them even more.
God pets do not fall into the category of minions.
Okay, I just
Only
wanna-
archer, swordsman, brute,
Just want to make sure.
and
so this
possibly
is gonna
with their fire or Oni buffs
be, like I
count.
said, this can
And
be
affect all
defensively,
those.
offensively in both regards of trying to push down a little bit quicker.
Fans of the old school, what was it, the promote
Oh yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
of closed
This is
beta?
kind
Or
of
like, was
getting a
that
little bit
even
of that
closed beta?
feeling.
Was that pre-beta?
At like PAX 2013, we had one match where we all went that, and we just hard pushed a wave, got stopped with the Phoenix, and then had to win.
This
the
is
old-fashioned
essentially
way.
the balanced version of that.
Okay. We'll see how balanced it is as the season progresses.
should
but
never call it
PTS is first,
Right
yes.
now.
you
But
should
this is
look-
the exciting yet counterplay possible version of that.
Yeah.
So, Tyrannical Plate Helm. See that in game, test it out, tell us what you think. Next up, Stone of Foul. This has had a few changes through the years and a couple of different looks. It's going to have a
People
new
have been asking for
passive
this
here
one.
to try and make it more viable, I guess, for people to want to pick up. The new passive is you gain 20% of your magical protections of the nearby allied god with the highest magical protections within 70 feet.
Protection sharing.
So a teammate, so you can just get, oh man,
be
I'm
near-
I'm a
Look.
stat bot again as a support player. aren't I?
Somewhat. I mean, you don't
what I
even
am.
need to with your natural
Hey, we have very
protections and your
aggressive
items.
auras that are good for us
That's true,
support
that's true.
players
Yeah,
too right
Shoguns
now.
So they
would
get
actually go really well
20% of
with
the
this.
magical protections of the nearby allied god.
So now, if I have to be worrying about this magical assassin or these other high-powered magical characters, I just need to be near my support, and that'll already give me a benefit. Just helping you with your positioning, and that way you really don't have to do much else than that.
First time somebody might want a support player near him now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's
Oh,
like,
come
go
on.
away,
People
go
love
away.
their support.
Come here, come here.
Peel
Well,
for me,
this
help!
item still fits its original goal of being a magical power item that helps you itemize against other mages. But we didn't want mages just buying a bunch of protections. And we didn't really want to be putting just too much magical protections on this power item, right? Because then that's an overpowered hybrid. So this sharing kind of concept, it's a very new mechanic, so we're really interested to see how this works out. It looks like it's going to solve a lot of those design questions in those edge cases. Will it be as applicable as we think? Will it be better than Old Stone of Fall? We hope so. We're looking forward to seeing how people feel about it.
So having a look at and try out the Stone of Fall. Next up is to talk about removing the Shaman's Ring. It's not going to be available
Rip
in
in
the game
peace.
anymore. A lot of debate about that.
A lot of people have expressed to us that they just really enjoy the passive, even though it was statistically worse than most other power items.
Right.
Which,
Was it more like a
Flare
nerf
Boot's going to
trap?
battle for us out there, trying to prove to people that it really wasn't very good damage.
Was that
Fear
the
of
argument for it?
Desolation
It was
essentially
kind of a
always
trap.
beat it.
But people felt good about how it worked, so we're going to keep in mind that tech, that debuff tech that puts your god icon on other people. We're going to keep that in mind, and we're going to see if we can apply that somewhere else in the game.
Okay.
But for right now, for our goals for this season and these item changes, this item was not doing us any favors because of its confusion. It's giving this power. We were balancing power and penetration across the board. So this item is gone, and it's making room for a new ring.
Look at these segues. They're perfect. Thanks,
A
AJ.
very
On to
exciting new ring.
The
Yeah,
new
this
ring.
is pretty spicy.
Ring of Hecate. Hecate?
That is this.
Hecate?
It is a reference to the goddess of witchcraft.
Yep.
Mage AD carries have been asking for this item for a long time. We'll find out, shall we?
Yes.
Passive. Hitting enemy gods with basic attacks gives you 1 stack of 2% lifesteal. Stacks up to 5 times, and stacks last 5 seconds. So it's a lifesteal item for
It's the Mage
mages
ADC lifesteal item.
based on ADCs.
Power, attack speed, lifesteal. All together in one item for the first time ever.
Ramped up together.
think.
So it's only hitting enemy gods with
magical
basic attacks as well.
For
Well, for
magical
magical
characters,
powers. So yeah.
It just says enemy gods, though. It's not going to work on minions.
Yes, correct.
Enemy gods.
Okay, so this is a fighting, dueling sort
So
of.
it gives you a good amount of lifesteal all the time. But then
Right.
for the ramping passive lifesteal, that's only going to apply in the boxing scenario when you're actually hitting an enemy god.
Gotcha. And that'll be what we see from that passive. So we'll see how this one works.
Well, this is just really cool because this is a stat. These are all the stats that Mage ADCs need, and normally they kind of have to itemize into a full
Yeah.
other set
You
of a
might not
couple
need to
tier
get
3
Bancroft
items.
this time if you don't feel like it's necessary.
Gotcha.
So what we're hoping this does is open up the Mage ADC build paths to include some more interesting.
Maybe you've got healers in your team, you don't necessarily need as much sustain, but you might want a little bit in case of tricky situations.
And
Okay.
because of this, the ring tree is now actually the attack speed tree.
Yeah.
And the tier 2 gets attack speed.
Correct.
Which we'll talk about
The tier
later.
2 is in
But-
the patch notes. I thought I put it next to this one.
Bonus.
You can now get all the 4 rings and
It
not feel
got,
bad
it
about
got
it
moved
as well.
down, but yeah, the tier 2 ring will feel much better to buy now too.
Well, from rings, we move on to coins. We've got another new
yeah.
item coming out here. This one is intriguing.
This is
I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. I just know it's going to be in the game.
It's pretty good for our test testing, but
Charon's coin? Charon's coin?
Charon.
Charon?
yeah.
Charon.
Okay,
Charon.
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 Car on.
Charon.
I thought it was
Charon's-
care.
I thought it
Charon's
was
coin.
car.
All right, it's Charon.
Someone knows.
You'll correct us regardless.
Not to be
Charon.
confused
Okay.
with Chiron.
Right.
Charon is the boatman of the dead, the ferryman.
Yeah.
Rumen of the Styx.
He requires a coin for passage to the underworld.
And you too can now own the coin in Smite.
Call the number at the bottom of your screen now.
Charon's coin is going to be a 20% magical penetration item, just to be clear, that focuses on long-term investment and extended engagements rather than roar up for a burst. The passive reads, on god kill or assist, a coin is flipped. If heads, you gain a stack of 7 HP 5. If tails, you gain a stack of 2 movement speed. Each effect can stack up to 4 times, and at 8 stacks, this item will evolve. It evolves too. What?
Yeah,
This item evolves. You also gain 1 gold every time the coin is flipped.
get
All right.
Because you flipped the coin.
I like
For
the coin
thematic
flip.
reasons. You summon a coin, you get 1 coin.
Evolution. So going into the evolution. So first of all, just to be real clear, you get HP 5. If you get one side of the coin, the other side of the coin will give you movement speed. And on evolution, on god kill or assist, a coin is flipped. And if heads, you'll gain 150 health over 6 seconds. Or if tails, you'll gain 5% movement speed for 6 seconds. You also gain 1 gold every time the coin is flipped again on the evolution.
That's the
version
most
as well.
important part, too.
So if you get 2,700 kills, you've paid the item.
Yeah.
Wow.
That might
You
be
can
a bit
do that.
hard.
Maybe with Thanatos. All right, no, clumsily walk us through this item, its overall intention, and a little bit more. Give us
Yeah,
a
I
bit of
wanted
the
to,
user experience so we can understand it more
We talked
clearly.
about it a little bit earlier as well, but we've kind of reached into the section where the new items were also at the penetration changes. So this is going to be one of the first of the 2 items that's going to have the 20% magical penetration. And that's going to be pretty important. Charon's coin is something, we're going to talk about a decision chart right afterwards, but Charon's coin kind of, it's a little bit more niche, it's a little bit more interesting. It's this permanent stacking item. You kind of want to get it kind of in the middle of the game where you know you're going to be versing some tanky characters, but you also want to start the stacking effect pretty early.
Right.
And we also wanted to play a little bit with this RNG mechanic that doesn't feel too unfair. They're both kind of buffs, they're permanent stacks, right, until you evolve it, that don't feel too, unfortunate if you only get 1. If you get tails, you don't feel bad for getting that you didn't get heads, and same thing, vice versa. So I think it's going to be one of the more interesting niche items here.
So just on the numbers real quick, the passive of that would be 10% you'll get movement speed, and then the stacks will evolve it, and you get a 5% on top.
So you'll get 8%, once it evolves, it'll have 8% permanent
Gotcha, and then you
movement
can get
speed,
5 still.
28% HP 5, and then when this next proc happens, you'll get those on top of it.
Okay.
And another interesting note about this, you cannot flip past the maximum, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
if you happen to go tails 4 times, you'll then start to get you'll get heads 4
You will
times
not,
next.
you will not be able to
But-
fail
So
this
rigged
item.
coin is what you're telling me.
Yeah,
eventually,
it is.
right?
But the goal is you can
Life
only
and
hit
death
the
is
max cap, yeah. So
Okay. And
you
it's also
won't-
got 20% magical pen on this, by the way.
So
Yeah,
after
that's the
8
one of
kills,
the
this
main
will always
importance.
evolve regardless of the order.
Right.
So it could be understood that you might get
2 and 2.
unlucky and you never evolve it, but that's
But
not
yeah,
the case.
drawing focus on that, this is one of the 2 20% magical pen items.
There's only
That's
2 in
gonna
the
be-
game.
There's only 2.
And there
There's
will
several
be a
10%
40% cap. So
Exactly.
the new, as we go into Obsidian Shard, in the new world of magical penetration, there'll be a lot more items that have percent pen on them, and it'll be up to the player to decide how they want to mix and match those to get the other stats, the item passives, and the penetration that they need. Do they need the full 40%? Not every match. Okay, that's fine. I can go some other traditional high power items. Or if you really need the 40%, there will be lots of different combinations of 10s and 20s you could do to reach that cap.
Okay. Well, there's the first 20% one. The second 20% one is Obsidian Shard, which we're going to move on to now. Now, obviously, Obsidian Shard's still in the game. It's going to have a bit of an increased cost to this as well. But we have added 20% magical penetration to this item. Your first ability cast gains 10% magical penetration. This can only occur once every 10 seconds. Whereas is your first ability cast gains? What does that mean?
So after the timer, the cooldown timer is
Right.
up,
There is
the
a
next
cooldown timer.
ability you hit a god with is going to get the
It's
trigger.
an internal cooldown of 10 seconds.
Gotcha. I just didn't see the internal cooldown on there.
Yeah.
Oh, I just say that now. I didn't see it before. I was like, wait.
So the main takeaway is that Obsidian Shard has been a pretty problematic item for many different reasons. We talked about that in the blog, so I'm not going to reiterate all of that.
Sure.
But essentially, it's a base 15% magical penetration, going all the way up to 45%, which is even more than the new cap we put into Season 7.
Right.
So now it's going to have this 20% with an extra 10% on this conditional passive that actually goes over. It's not going to be obeying that same 40% cap. So Karin's coin is the 20%, which takes a little bit more investment.
Yeah.
Obsidian Shard is kind of the upfront. It costs less gold as well, where you just want to get it in more reaction if you're going to be versing some tanky characters that have started picking up magical defense.
Yeah, and that passive really does help you. Like if you're just trying to threaten maybe a warrior who's built like a pestilence off you, this item as a one-off will still help you threaten, but it won't negate that purchase that warrior made, which was a large part of why we did all these magical item or penetration changes. Right. And it's really hard to TLDR the changes, which is why you should go read the blog
Yeah,
post because
definitely
it
read the
goes
blog.
really
I mean,
deep into
the main points we were trying to convey is that Obsidian Shard and Spear of the Magus were both problem items, but for different reasons.
Yes.
Spear of the Magus made certain gods more viable than others and caused a lot of problems in that regard with flat penetration. And Obsidian Shard was this kind of like one item wonder for anti-tank. And we were trying to fix both of those problems simultaneously, which has caused us to kind of refactor penetration and magical power across the board, with the #1 goal of, as SMITE as a game, the magical damage being dished out should be easier to comprehend where it's coming from, and it should ramp up at a more reasonable rate as opposed to just, oh, I was fighting this mage and completely crushing them, and now all of a sudden they're two-shotting me and I don't understand why.
That was
Okay.
a good TLDR.
Right, we got to move along because we're not even
trying.
halfway through the show yet, and we're deep. We're deep into
All right, move
Star
it.
Focus. Added 10% magical
That's just
penetration.
that tier 2.
Remove the passive. The tier 2
Parity with
Obsidian
Obsidian
Shard.
Shard.
Yep.
We're going to give it 10%. So it's
It's
still
a
pretty
nerf.
viable, though. I
Yeah.
think 10% for.
But
the tier
it
2
used to
version.
be more.
It did. But it still could be useful. Spear of the Magus. This is a bit of a change here as well. Spear of the Magus was the second main item for mages in terms of penetration. Obviously, we're going to be increasing the magical power of this item, but also subsequent hits of the same ability deal 6% increased damage, stacking up to 6 times.
So just like we talked about Obsidian Shard, which was a massive problem for mages' damage against tanky characters,
Yeah.
Spear of the Magus was the opposite, where it would hit squishy characters, hit all the ones with the small amount of protections really, really hard. And depending on what mage you were, what character you were, it was going to give you different benefits. So we saw a lot of trends in the last few years where Spear of Magus has really empowered a lot of these mages, these dot characters, these persistent ability firing characters to really high degrees. I mean, each god starts the game with 30 magical protections,
Yes.
scaling at 0.9. And Spirit of Magus has the potential to reduce 50 flat protections, basically demolishing it all the way to 0, where you're dealing true damage with maybe just one pass.
And in a debuff form, so other gods would also be
Yeah,
hitting that
and
god.
then your subsequent fire of your other abilities will continue to deal damage. This was a pretty big problem just for the reasons that AJ talked about, where if you're the opponent, you may not know why you're suddenly taking true damage from this other character and from other mages as well.
But now it's a true dot damage, and it only affects the dot or the ability itself, the deployable, the stim that has multiple fires.
Right.
Just that ability itself is going to ramp up in damage. So that's going to be cool on gods like Kukulkan, Anubis. It even works on things like Freya, Isis, Raijin,
Just to be
Malti.
clear on this, does it reset the stacks, or does it keep applying as you reuse the ability on the same person?
Well, if you're using
a
a second
cooldown?
ability fire, that's another.
No,
Each
I mean, like,
ability
if
has
I
its
use my
own
one
independent
and then come
stacks.
back later, use my one later, does the
No, it's
stacks
complete. Yeah, it's going
Yeah,
to
it
reset.
resets.
Yeah.
Each instant of firing the ability starts
Just
over.
wanted to
So
make sure.
this should, in most cases, do less damage than buying Spear of the Magus did, but not in all cases. Obviously,
damage over the time
penetration is
comes-
a complicated calculation, but
The Olympians have helped a lot with the feedback. Flavored again helping with spreadsheet this damage. It is definitely going to be doing a lot less damage than Spear of Magus's previous iteration for the flat pen, but it should be more consistent. And like we said, it should be more obvious to tell where it's coming
and you
from.
can build it into more interesting builds with other types of penetration in this new world, and who knows?
Which is actually why we gave it a little bit of power extra.
Okay,
on top
let's
of
go
it.
through a couple more now. The main spear and penetration items have changed. Shoes of the Magi, they're going to be losing their 10 magical penetration, but they're going to be coming down in cost and increasing magical power. Not only the shoes of the Magi, though, the shoes of Focus, they're going to see a cost increase ever so slightly as well to kind of match to make sure these boots are both viable, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm doing your job for you because we've been here.
Well,
a
there
while.
was a lot of concern that losing penetration would really just make Shoes of the Magi just unusable.
Yeah.
We think when people actually try all these items together, they will see that there's a lot of benefits in going this high power, and not every god really needs all the cooldown and mana.
One main note
but-
on that as well is that lane minions have very, very low magical protections, so that penetration was actually not helping you with the clear that much. This
Okay.
extra power is going to show noticeable increases of damage on
Yeah,
lane
crushing
minions.
the wave.
Quick
You can get
wave
some
clever.
really good pressure plays off of rushing this, and if you go cooldown, you might be at a loss because of that.
So that's Shoes of Focus. Pythagorean's piece is next on the list. They've added 10% magical penetration to this, but at the cost of 10% cooldown reduction. So no 10% cooldown reduction on this. It's got magical penetration instead. Typhon's Fang is going to have added magical penetration to that item, but it's going to have a decreased magical power effect on that to sway the difference. Soul Reaver, we're going to see an increased cost of Soul Reaver, but there's a reason why. It's because it's going to have 10% magical penetration added to it and a slight decrease in magical power here, because it's still going to have the effect anyway of the percent health.
Yep.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So let's go through this whole section, and then we'll talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
we will.
why we've made these
Staff
adjustments.
of Murden, next up, added 10% magical penetration, but decreased the magical power of this item to compensate. Sorcerer's Staff, the Warlock Staff, which we may have to go a little bit more in detail about for a second. We're going to be reducing the Sorcerer's Staff base health amount. However, Warlock Staff is going through some changes here. What's the goal with Warlock Staff, boys?
It's been an item that has traditionally been the dictated how tanky mages are and really dictated a meta, or has just not been built in favor of other high power choices. And that's just because of the combination, similar to almost Mystical Mail, where the combination of the defensive stats it provided, along with the power that it had, made it this item that once it was seen as viable, it was the go-to path.
Yeah.
And we're pivoting it much more towards power oriented. It will have a little bit of defensive stats to help you, so you'll be tankier for building it, but it's much more focused on the power this time. So when you build it, you're not an unstoppable beast walking forward into the enemy team.
Okay, so it's going to have added, Warlock Staff is going to have 10% magical penetration, a reduced base health, but we've adjusted the passive so you get different stack amounts. It's going to be 1 health and 1 magical power per stack, and that caps out at 75 stacks for 75 health and 75 magical power. So the evolved Warlock Staff, due to all the changes going on with Warlock Staff, the final evolved Warlock Staff will now read 140 magical power, 225 health, 200 mana, and 10% magical penetration.
Right. So as we changed magical percent penetration, we tried to reallocate it to a bunch of different items that have specifically different roles. Right. The goal is that we want mages to be able to itemize into their penetration and have an interesting selection of items to combine to reach the amount of penetration they feel like they need for that match. So Obsidian Shard and Charon's Coin are the high penetration items. They have 20%. They're the only two. All the rest of these have 10. Pythagorean's piece is the support team-oriented item. So this is to help your team. It's got a very powerful aura, but also gives you penetration. Whereas Warlock Staff is the selfish tanky item that also gives penetration. Typhon's Fang is the lifesteal penetration item. And Soul Reaver was the one that was already kind of used for tank shredding because of the bonus damage, so it felt silly to not give it its penetration. So that is another, that's your kind of another
its identity.
high
Split it
penetration.
around, have some core ones that may give 20% that are a bit more viable to multiple option builds, but then some that are specific to different options.
Right,
Okay.
and then Staff of Mirrodin is your crazy passive category. Is that a category?
As
Do people
category,
seek out crazy passive items? Or you could just say it's a traditional power option.
Well, I think
So
Carol's
just power
gonna
and
be on
pen.
that list as well, I'm
So,
pretty
you know, a lot of these changes make these items stronger. The only one that we've seen maybe some debate on is Pythagorum's piece. Obviously, there was a lot of community reaction to the blog post there. Pythagorum's piece has been OP for like a whole year, so catch up, everyone, please.
And not
We
on
are
support side.
very okay
Yeah,
with.
it's like a little while ago.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying do not change this item, but the pros have been asking us to change this item pretty much nonstop
They just
for
wanted to, like,
months.
heavy nerf it as well.
This is yeah, and this
This
is
is
an
not
item that
quite a
is
nerf,
like
but it is.
rush on Chronos, and it's great.
Yeah.
So this item needed a little shift. We like this change. We think this is going to be good and healthy for the game.
Well, we've done all the penetration stuff.
Anything
Now-
else to say about those items?
I think that was basically it.
So really what this will let you do like is make your mage build really flexible. If you need to get into lifesteal and penetration, all of a sudden you realize, okay, there's an option for that.
Right.
You know, if I need to get into, I need some health and some penetration, there's an option for that.
Yeah.
So this way we allow you to do a lot of different decision making instead of just going, nope, Obsidian Shard, bye.
Yeah,
I
you don't
just
feel
need this one
pigeonholed.
item, and then my pen's good, I can move on. Well, moving on now as well from penetration, we're going to talk a little bit about magical power real quick. A lot of items going to be have been given additional magical power. And I think this is some of the compensation for the penetration that we've
Right.
seen changes there, right?
Right.
Losing some flat pen, especially on the shoes as well as on Spear of Magus,
Yeah.
we wanted to add a little bit of power on a couple of key items.
To
So
help
that's what
out
we
a
did
little bit more. So here we go with the list of these. This is the increased magical power. Increased magical power for the following items: Spear of Desolation, Rod of Tahuti, Soul Gem, Polynomicon, and Telkine's Ring. And then we'll move on to Chronos Pendant. Is going to have a decreased cost, but it's also going to have increased magical power to make that a little bit more attractive. Restored Artifact. We're going to be decreasing the price of Restored Artifact. The price of the tier 3 items will remain the same in the tree, but we're also going to be increasing the magical power. So Restored Artifact's going to be a little bit more potent now.
And
Oh,
a
yeah.
potentially interesting start if you want to rush that
Yeah,
instead of book.
1400, you could
two.
start the game.
It's very lackluster compared to a couple of the other
Oh,
tier
for sure.
mage items.
Yeah,
As a
Chronos
tier two, it's
Pendant
awkward.
and Restored Artifact will now be a serious contender in the mage trees.
Yep.
Enchanted Ring, we're going to be adding 10% attack speed to this item and decreasing it by 5 magical power.
The tier 2, the ring tree.
Make sure it's got a little bit of attack speed in it now, as we were discussing. Demonic Grip, we're going to be decreasing the passive magical protection reduction per stack. It was very potent of an item, and it's going to be toned down a little bit here.
Yeah, we're just kind of discussing the power of what percent pen brings.
Yeah.
We've seen Demonic Grip be really core. Later on, we've also seen Execution be really core. These items are just very effective at what they do. They bring a lot of power to the table. We're toning them back slightly to better reflect our understanding of how penetration works, how penetration as a whole should work in Smite. So that's why that's...
So this is kind of jumping us to a new section. That was all the items we just went over. Those were added power. They were
Power
generally
ones,
added
yeah.
about 10 or 15 power. They also had some other cost adjustments. Next, we're moving into Demonic Grip, which as we were applying penetration, this isn't quite applied the same way as Obsidian or Spear was. And in most cases, it was relatively healthy, but mage ADCs are getting a lot of other tools this season. And we want to be careful with just penetration as a whole. So we're going to see a slight nerf here, and we're going to see similar changes to Executioner
Yeah, this
later.
is percent reduction, like you were saying. This does not go with the 40% cap.
Yeah,
That's one of
also
the main
good to
reasons
know.
we wanted to be careful.
And similarly with these changes as we move towards our next item, one of the other main problems we're solving in Smite, which is something that people have debated for years, is the amount of damage that Guardians can output, especially in the early game. We all know that pen boots were really the key to that. This other item that we're about to go into is the other key. So I just want to reiterate just our goals for Smite as a whole. We want our Guardians to be able to be impactful, to be able to deal damage, but that has reached some levels of extreme that are causing some negative gameplay recently. So we're toning that down a little bit. We're not trying to turn all of our supports into, Yamoja type, or no, even Yamoja does damage, right? Who's the least damaging Guardian? Geb, maybe? I mean, if you don't build him. But we're not trying to turn all of our Guardians into that, but we are trying to tone down some of these very strange, hyper-aggressive builds you could do. So
Wardstone reworks the passive of Wardstone. Enemy gods within 55 units have magical protection reduced by 5%. Is what that's going to be. So it's going to make a bit of a difference there. And Voidstone increase the magical power of this item, but rework the passive. Enemy gods within 55 units have their magical protection reduced by 10%. These do stack, I guess, with the normal penetration items in the game.
So things that affect enemies don't contribute to your
Actually
stat.
reducing this.
So yeah, these you can theoretically go above the percent penetration cap with these. And these also though, these are pivoted away, so flat penetration on Guardians is their biggest damage boost. Now they can't get that early flat pen. So this is actually gonna be better late game. It's going to be better against other guardians instead of other squishies, and it's going to be better for your team as opposed to just using Bacchus as an assassin.
And finally, on the magical side of things, we've got Stone of Binding. We're going to decrease the physical and magical reduction, is what I've got written down here. It's going to go from 15 to 10.
So that is the protection changes. This is just a small nerf on that item.
Yes.
This item's been really strong. We've seen it pop up in SPL a few times. It's still a unique case. It's a bridge item. So it's not going to be undergoing the exact same changes as a lot of these penetrations, but we want to also just hit that penetration nerf just slightly here, just to be safe.
I'm sick of magical stuff. Can we talk about physical for a while?
We are.
Let's
We
talk
are.
about
We are
physicals.
there.
There's
We've
more
made it.
physicals in
Let's
the
get
game.
physical.
Those really, we felt like all those additional changes for magical were necessary because of the sort of ripple effect based on targeting these key 2 items. We set a goal to ourselves to only adjust magical items that we felt to do the minimum number of changes we would need to achieve this goal.
Right. So that's it with the magical
But
section.
it's still a lot.
Time to move on to the physical
It's still
section.
a lot.
What's the goals with physical, real quick? We're going to speed this up a little bit, but what are the main focal points for the physical side? Obviously, we talked a lot about magical recently.
There's going to be some penetration lessons learned that we're going to be applying to a few items here, but it's not going to be such a widespread thing because physical and magical damage is applied very differently in many different scenarios.
Sure.
And as Paul mentioned at the beginning of the day, we'll be looking to add some new items and looking to breathe new life into items that people previously have seen as unviable and possibly nerf some of the absolute top of the meta items as well.
Okay,
Bottom
let's go
up,
for
top
it.
down.
We'll start things off with a brand new item in the game, Caduceus Shield. Did I say that right? Caduceus?
Caduceus?
Caduceus.
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 So Caduceus is probably more proper, but no one's going to say that because
Okay.
that's not how we say it.
So this new shield coming to the game that they like to put words in that just make it tricky all the time is going to cost 2,500 gold. It's 30 physical power, 35 physical protection, 35 magical protection, 100 health, and have an aura. The aura reads, allied gods within 70 units of you have their healing increased by 10%. If you have taken or dealt damage in the last 5 seconds, their healing is increased by an additional 15%. This aura does not stack with Rod of Asclepius. It's physical Rod of Asclepius, though.
Yay! People have been asking for this for a long time. You can also build this to buff other gods' healing.
Right.
It's not just yours, so you can use this as an aura item. Or you can use this on Guan Yu, perhaps the premier physical healer. Horus as
Horus
well.
will do pretty well too.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's one of the new items for this. And we've also got another new Cursed Blade. Toxic Blade and Witch Blade have now build off of Cursed Blade, allowing players to smoothly transition into these items with stats they are going for. And that's going to cost 1,250 gold, have 75 health, 10% attack speed, and 5% movement speed in this. And that's going to have Witch Blade and Toxic Blade in there. That's really nice.
exactly.
Cool.
It's going to make those items just... A lot of people didn't like itemizing into those because they felt like the support versus aggressive split within this tree didn't feel right. So now there really is a tier 2 to
tier 2
help
to
signify the direction you're going. Yeah.
I'm frustrated with that because I kind of like to sit at that tier 2 and go, which one am I going to get?
No,
Which
I know.
one is
We've
where?
all felt it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that wing blade, but
Yeah, the Wing Blade sometimes. Relic Dagger is really useful too.
Oh, yeah.
Gladiator's Shield next up, though. Bit of discussion about this one. Rework the passive from only triggering once per ability.
no. Let's
Still
proper text. So right now in live, I hit 3 gods
Yep.
and I heal 3 times
Yep.
for the amount listed.
Well, that's not going to
So
happen.
once per god per ability is what that text is.
I knew what it meant. It just didn't read that way.
Yeah.
To subsequent heal. So the first person you hit with an ability, you'll get the full heal off Gladiator Shield. Additional people hit by this. Subsequent heals after the first from a single ability only heal for 50%.
Right.
So a bit more, less sustained in this. King Arthur is going to be affected by this. Right.
So Gladiator Shield has had certain gods who can use it especially well, especially when hitting multiple targets. So now those gods are going to get reduced healing in those situations. This change is not going to affect the 1v1 solo lane scenario.
Right.
Because you're only hitting one target most of the time. But if you are hitting multiple targets, you won't be healing as much as you did last season.
So team fights, it won't give you as much sustain.
Correct.
That's what we're really talking about here. Next up after that is Void Shield. We're going to see an increased physical protection on this. And we've also been reworking the passive. It used to be enemy gods within 55 units if you have their physical protection reduced by 20. Instead, it's going to be enemy gods within 55 units if you have their physical protection reduced by 15%.
Yeah, this is
so it's
basically-
percentage now rather than flat.
Yeah, this is basically the Void Stone change, just for warriors instead. Warriors could often build this and just be very hard to deal with.
In most cases, it will be a nerf.
Next up is Spiked Shield. We're going to be reworking the passive of this. It was reduces physical protection from 55 to 8. Is now 55 units by 8. It's going to now reduce the physical protection of enemies within 55 units by 5%. Part of the same tree. Makes sense.
Tier 2.
Silver Branch Bow, increase the power provided from the passive of this to make this a little bit more attractive. It's going to go up to 1.5. Executioner is decreased passive physical protection reduction per stack. Wow, we nerfed Executioner.
It happened.
When did that's been buffed? I think it got buffed in like 3 and 4.
It did get buffed because the Hunter class as a whole, we wanted to make sure felt strong.
Now we don't care about them.
They've been doing pretty well, and we expect going into the next season that with the way lanes are positioning, they'll continue to do that. So we're doing a small nerf here just to fit in line with the way we're adjusting penetration across the board.
Makes sense. Warrior's Bane also on this list. Decreased passive % physical protection reduction.
That's the tier 2 of Titan's Bane.
Decreased, it said there, yeah, just to make sure. Decreased of Warrior's Bane. And then Titan's Bane, we're going to also be decreasing the base physical protection reduction and decreasing the max physical protection reduction. So it's going to take a bit of a knock to the penetration of the physicals here. You can't just catch everything from just this one item there.
Right.
Same sort of thing. Hydra's Lament. Decreased additional damage after basic attacks. I think it's going from 50% to around 40% for a change there. Poison Star is going to have an increased physical power element added to this, just to give it a little bit more potency in terms of 10 extra power. Wind Demon, we're going to increase the amount of attack speed on this item a little bit to make that a bit more attractive. Malice is now going to have 10% CDR added to it. Interesting. Why?
It's the kind of like crit ability user item where you want it for cooldown reduction. Just make sure that its baseline functionality when you're not utilizing the passive is still impactful and still makes this item worthwhile to purchase.
Okay, I can see the attractiveness of it, but if you're going to use an ability to get the passive anyway, then you're going to want this. Soul Eater is the final thing I've got on the physical list so far. When this item evolves, it now provides an additional 5% lifesteal in addition to the physical power and the ability lifesteal effect.
Whew, bunch of changes there. So the exciting stuff, I mean, it's all exciting, but the most notable things that we didn't talk about, Silver Branch Bow getting a pretty interesting buff for the passive. So that could be a potentially large power buff, and that item already provides quite a combination of stats. So we expect to see some more hunters picking that up. Hydra's Lament nerf, that is the kind of key assassin nerf for the whole patch. A lot of our assassins who are overperforming right now, and even some warriors playing as junglers, Achilles, who's getting his own nerf, but they tend to use this item extremely effectively. So this is effectively the Susano, Achilles, Thanatos nerf for the update. You saw a bunch of buffs to some crit items that aren't used as often, which should be good for hunters as well as certain assassins. And yeah, so we want to make sure that crit becomes more viable option. It really has feel like no one's built crit like all year. It's
With
pretty
Fail
rare.
Not Survival, you see it on a couple of different
But even that fell out of favor relatively quickly after the item came
you
out.
need the support to make Fail Not worthwhile, and stuff like Wind Demon is like the stat stick that you really would want for that.
Yeah,
for a lot of these gods, they may not use Fail Not's passive that well.
Hunters tend to be some of the hardest classes to get build diversity in because people kind of find working builds and go for it. This is our attempt to bring some other items into the mix. And of course, as we go forward with the new season, we didn't want to adjust things like Transcendence and Devourer's Gauntlets with the new map.
Right.
So we want to see how Hunters are playing out on the new map first, and then we'll look into adjusting those in future patches.
Okay, good to know for you all at home then. Masks is the final thing I've got in terms of items for this patch to go over. We're going to start off with Lono's Mask. It's going to have decreased damage dealt, decreased healing done. That's the two things that are going to be on here.
Yeah, so the wording there is a little bit weird, right? Because it's decreased the reduction of damage dealt from negative 25% to negative 20%.
So it's buffed.
It's a stronger item for these changes. Right?
Yes, they're buffed.
So Lono's Mask was nerfed because of some interesting applications, but now we're trying to walk that back a little bit, make sure it has a place in the meta. The masks have all fallen off, so these are generally buffs. Well, Lono's Mask is a buff, but Rangda's Mask is a change due to penetrations.
Stop jumping ahead. Fighter's Mask. We're on to next.
Why? Yeah, Fighter's Mask is just tier 2 of Rangda's Mask. I like to talk about those as one discussion. Man. I think when you go all into those side tangents, we get confused.
I go into side tangents?
Yeah, Hindu.
Yeah, Hindi man.
Okay, let's go on the real patch note show. So Lona's Mask we've already discussed. Fighter's Mask, remove 10 penetration, increase physical power, increase magical power. Rangdal's Mask, remove 15 penetration, increase physical power, increase magical power.
There
God
you
balance,
go.
Odin. Oh no.
No, don't go
Yeah,
that far.
don't play games with me, sunshine.
I'm sorry.
Say
So
hi.
Rangdas and fighters together are losing their flat pen because part of our past with magical, we didn't want this to be like the, aha, we got you. We're going to buy too much flat pen anyway. And same for Guardians. So this is losing their flat pen and instead just gaining more power. Of course, when you buy the fighters or the final Rangdas, you'll get that power or that damage percent increase, which is still
works
pretty,
well with power.
which works really well with power, right? That's very interesting. So, but we're just avoiding this penetration because this would break down some of our other changes in the patch.
So a little touch towards these masks to just try and make them a little bit more attractive at the same time as adjust based off the penetration change.
Correct.
Makes a lot of sense. See how quick that was?
Thank you.
See how long it took him?
I'm sorry.
Don't try and talk to me about who takes long.
Leave it to-
Goodness
leave it to
me.
the master.
Right. God time.
Yes.
Let's move on to reworks.
I
We're
know.
almost
All right.
near the end.
How did I do the Valencia show? How did we do it?
Huh?
How did we survive?
I
that?
was in like a weird comatose state as I
Yeah.
just did that show. It was
Yeah.
like some sort of weird trance that I just went into, and I was like, it's over. But hey, I'm in a trance now. Let's talk about reworks. So a lot of these have already been talked about a little bit and discussed with you all in the community. We're going to go into Odin first of all and start off with a little look at Odin and the rework to him. Goals. What was the major goal with this change to Odin and the rework status?
Really, the blog post said it all.
Right.
We have a new rework methodology we try to follow. It's the way we identify and the way we go about doing reworks. We're trying really hard to keep the gods' kits intact as much as possible while adding new interesting thematic and gameplay elements to theirs. So for Odin, we kind of determined that the bird bomb combo was indeed an important and iconic part of his kit. And changing it would make him feel like a considerably different character. So those abilities are staying the same. However, ability 3 is getting a completely new rework with a completely new ability, and Ring of Spears is being heavily adjusted to meet some new goals.
I will have a look at all of these now. So Gungnir's Might, first of all, the full ability rework
Ability 3.
is Odin begins empowering Gungnir with a runic magic, becoming immune to knockback. Is he immune to knockbacks in this?
He is. He's not going. Most long channels are in the solo lane are immune to
Okay.
knockback, or they could be countered so super easily.
Every 0.7 seconds, Gungnir charges runes, and Odin pulses out damage around him, slowing enemies for 2 seconds. When Odin releases Gungnir, it travels forward, damaging enemies and stopping on the first god hit. The first rune causes allies around Odin to gain attack speed for 3 seconds. The second allows Gungnir to home onto enemy gods. The last rune allows Gungnir to stun.
Yeah.
So you can see here as the ability is fired, there's a 1, 2, 3 pulse. And as each pulse happens, the effect of throwing the spear will change. So you just saw that was a quick fire.
Yep.
You saw the attack speed
Second
buff.
one.
That was the second one, and now we'll do the third one. 1,
stun.
2, 3. And you can hold the third one.
Indefinitely.
You can hold that indefinitely. You can just run around ready to stun people.
Just having that spear ready to yeet it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a bit of range on that too. So he's got a range stun on Odin.
The range is
gave
not
Odin a
that
range
long.
stun.
We did indeed.
And then he can bird bomb me off the back of that.
He sure can.
That sounds like a really
It sounds
good
like a pretty
combo.
good combo, yeah.
Okay.
You can see that stun lasted long enough that the person became unstunned. They can do things to react to the bird bomb.
Right.
So it's not fully guaranteed.
Sure. This is a good little setup potential because that's one of the things you always kind of struggle with a little bit.
So people can look at the numbers themselves on the patch notes. There's
Yeah.
some interesting ones, but this does a lot of cool things. So it gets the similar effect of his old Gungnir's Might by pulsing out a damage and slow already. So he still retains that, but at the same time, we're adding a lot of new decision making to his kit. So the ability to stim nearby allies for attack speed, that's really good for sieging objectives or structures. The homing effect can be used when someone is about to flee or you're really kind of like trying to kill secure.
And it slows as well on that speed.
And it also can help for some team setup if you need to set up more quickly than firing the stun. And the stun has a lot of interrupt and setup and all sorts of different peel even mechanics, which gives Odin really a lot more flexibility. And the main complaint with his character is that he was one-dimensional.
Sure.
And we didn't want to remove his core combo, and so we wanted to make sure we gave him more avenues to impact a fight without removing anything. So that's where we ended up with this new Gungnir's Might.
And the next thing we'll move on to then is obviously the Ring of Spears, because this is getting a full ability rework as well. It's had a lot of different iterations through the years of giving attack speed, giving anti-heal and different things. But we're going to make some changes here. Pom-Pom, what's the major focus of the change and what's it really going to be?
So the big change here is Odin's ult was very binary. It either won a team fight immediately by trapping everyone in a cage they couldn't escape from, or they just all leaped out of it or phantomed out of it, and then you felt like you wasted your ultimate ability and didn't do much. And so we want to make sure that this ability had more use cases that felt like you had more counterplay when you're trapped in it, as well as when someone did escape from it, they were a little bit punished for it, so there was kind of a risk-reward for escaping the cage. So what it does is when you use the cage, there's actually now health bars on the side, and each, you can see it's in kind of an octagon shape.
Yeah.
You can actually attack those wall fragments to reduce the health and break that fragment of the wall and walk out of it. So if you have no other escape, you can try to escape that way.
So kind of like a bracken wall, if you drop that down, you deal damage to it and break it apart a little bit.
Right.
Do you take damage from walking out of there at all, or you just manage to get away?
So if
long
you,
as you break it down, you can get
if
out.
you break out and walk out that way, no penalty. You did the thing to get out of it.
Right.
But if you choose to leap out of it instead,
Phantom out.
or phantom out, you're going to have a spear chasing you that damages you pretty bad for trying to leave the cage.
Okay. So the whole idea of this would be break the wall down to leave for safety, or leap away and take a ton of damage potentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
And really what this does is it makes the wall apply to a much wider range of combat scenarios. Like Paul mentioned in the beginning, previously it pretty much was an execute for someone, or people would just ignore it. Now there are going to be consequences to whichever way you play against this ability.
Just to remind you all at home as well, you can't be no longer along with us on the patch notes as well. They're already out and available to look at. But if you aren't, enemies inside the ring still cannot heal. Odin is immune to slow and root effects while in his ring, and a portion of the wall can be destroyed with hit by 5 basic attacks. Enemies that leave the ring over the wall are chased by the spear and will be slowed after the damage.
And the breaking out is very interesting, as we've even seen recently with like Persephone. Some teams really struggle to break their teammates out of things, so it might seem like this is a bit of a nerf because we've allowed you to escape it, but that's a pretty considerable time investment to make your team have to hit a certain, and you have to hit the same aspect of the wall 5 times, right? If you're hitting one piece of the wall and not hitting another piece, those are going to have each of their own hit points.
And Odin could be right on top of you doing the channeled spear, getting ready to stun you for a bird bomb inside the cage. So you might want to try and get out of there. And if you realize you're not going to be able to break down the wall in time, you leap out. He's going to leap after you with the slowed Gungnir. So he has a lot of opportunities to play off whatever decision you make, but you do have control while you're in the cage to actually make a choice about how you want to try and deal with this.
And it feels so good to be Odin and go cage someone, and then just like, oh, I'm just going to leap out, and you go watch that homing spear just go boom.
Aggro, Merlin blinked out of it and died, and I was like, yes.
Yeah,
That was
that's
great.
what you get. He got what he deserved. That's what it's meant to be.
Well, that's it.
Sorry, Aggro, I
Odin
love
for
It's
Aggro.
not a freebie anymore. Yeah.
Huh?
It's not a free escape anymore.
No,
That's what
it's not. It's going to be a bit more tricky to play around the Odin. A little bit more of those Ring of Spears, so we'll see how Odin works in the PTS for you all. Next up is Bastet. Obviously, a lot of people seem excited about this. This is the scarier one for me from reading through what I saw you guys post up about. Major focus for Bastet, what was it?
Mostly her ultimate. Her ultimate had similar problems as Odin's. It was an execute or it did nothing. We were trying to adjust her kit so that she has a more control over her own damage output and more impact on a team fight. And the way we were going to accomplish that is by relocating her cats to her ability 3. So now she can just send a cat all the time, and her ultimate is a completely new ultimate. So now
can throw cats
her ability
all the
3
time?
line attack can send a cat. It has a normal cooldown.
Okay.
It's
got health.
the cat.
There's still a lot of changes. It has 2 basic attacks worth of health, so it's no longer going to have that like scaling health pool. So 2 basic attacks to get the cat off of you. It roots if the cat charge hits you, which is pretty important as well.
Okay, how many cats can you have down at once? I know there's cooldown involved,
on the
obviously,
cooldown. It
right?
depends
But
entirely on
is
cooldown.
not one's going to despawn or anything if I have too many on the map or anything like that, right?
Nope.
I think there is probably a maximum amount, but more than you'd ever see in a normal circumstance.
So just to walk through these real quick on Bastet then. The passive, first of all, you saw there, it's got a bit of a change there. Tracking scent. When Bastet hits an enemy, she marks the target for a brief time. Marked targets leave behind a scent trail, and Bastet can follow them, gaining movement speed while in the scent trail. That's an interesting one. So through the jungle, you can kind of chase people down a little bit.
Yes, it can let you see where people are pathing through the jungle, and it can help you chase down people. Key other thing it does is it removes a bunch of just damage from her kit.
Right.
Which previously her passive was just like, oh, I'm gonna do more damage.
Damage
On top of damage. That was among of her other problems with this kit. So in order to give her a better ultimate and more team fight presence, we had to trim out some damage somewhere. So this is the key place where she's losing it, because she's gaining a lot of it in the other parts of the kit, as you'll see forward. As we go forward.
So that's it for the passive. We'll move on then to Declaw, the first full ability rework. The new name is Ensnaring Claw. Bastet sends a cat forward, as you've seen. The cat finds an enemy, it snares them, damaging them and briefly rooting them. The cat persists for 4 seconds or until defeated, continuing to attack nearby enemies. The cat's attack will apply a 2-second slow, so it's a route into a slow.
Correct.
And if Guardians of Bast is active, she will command her Guardians to also charge forward. Okay, we'll look at the ultimate then in a second, because this is the next thing that's been changed, because obviously if the cat's now on the 3, then what's on the ultimate? And
More
it's
cats.
Right.
super stim from what I understand.
But different cats. Exactly, it is a super stim. So she summons these Guardians of Bast, which are these more celestial spectral cats.
Yeah, the sort of ones that you see positioned on pyramids almost waiting.
Right,
Yes,
exactly,
like a
that little
sphinx.
sphinx
Yeah.
pose.
That's what I meant. Now this is basically going to empower all your other abilities from what I understand.
Correct.
So,
So for the duration, all of your other
This is
abilities
scary.
look pretty
So
interesting.
each ability gains additional
What?
hit areas.
that's
Yeah.
huge.
So just pull up that targeter and bring it a little closer so
Is
we can
that
see that
3
shape
agony bombs
properly.
coming my way? Think
Yeah.
it is.
And all of these bonus areas deal bonus damage equal to the rank of the ultimate. So as you rank up the ultimate, those additional areas will do additional damage. So at rank 5, you'll do full damage on the main circle from Bastet, and then 50% for each of them. So up to 2 times damage if you hit with the perfect sweet spot.
You're even 3 times now?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And you can shoot 3 cats.
The important thing to remember as well is that reduced damage, it's per source. So you have each cat, so there's 2 cats and Bastet. If you just hit from one source, so it's just the cat to the left,
Yeah.
you're going to be doing 100% of the damage with that cat.
Right.
And then each extra source will add extra bonus
Additional
damage.
damage on top.
So you can miss with your cat pounce, but hit with your Guardian's cat pounce, and that'll still deal 100% of the damage.
Okay,
Right,
I was gonna say,
right,
I
it
don't
just-
think you can
yeah.
miss with that pounce. If you're missing with that pounce and that ultimate,
You're going to hit with
some.
something.
If you
that's
hit
for
that
sure.
sweet spot, though, it's going to
So
hurt.
what this does is let Bastet hit a lot more enemies, which is good for her team fight. She's normally been described as having really bad team fight.
Right.
So now she can actually pounce in and kind of spread out the damage. She can also use these cats to root people, which previously she had no CC except a slight slow. So now she can root, or you can even root multiple targets if enemies are very close together when you drop the cats. So more damage in a bigger area for both pounce and razor whip, and more rooting and more cats.
How long does the stim last for?
12 seconds
So
right
for
now.
12 seconds, you can empower yourself.
Obviously, we want it to be long enough for her to be able to use her kit. You do not get any cooldown changes. So if you 1, 2, 3, and then 4, you might not get to use your ultimate at all.
Right.
So players need to be careful to use this ability only when her others are off cooldown.
Gotcha.
So the duration is relatively long because we do intend Bastet to try to use her abilities in kind of interesting ways. Cooldown reduction is always going to be really strong on her because if you can get more cycles in during your ultimate. But what this does is gives Bastet more clear visual power plays. So you'll be able to see this very obvious stim as effect. Okay, this is when Bastet is going to do a lot more damage, as opposed to previous Bastet, which had her passive and really relied on hyper early game snowballing to be successful at all, or she was virtually useless if you didn't do that. Now this gives her a lot more team fight presence throughout the game and a lot more clear counterplay and clear visual cues of when you need to be afraid of her.
Excited to see how Bastet works out, guys. Get on the PTS and test it when it's available. Obviously, all of this is going into the PTS, so you get to play around with it, see what you think, give us feedback. That's it for Bastet. We'll move on then to some of the changes to actual God balance now, not just reworks.
Right.
Top of the shop, Achilles is going to be getting a bit of a nerf here. Radiant Glory, we're going to be decreasing the physical power buff a little bit there, just to try and bring that a little bit more in line, make it a little less slow.
It's a pretty significant nerf.
So I don't have the numbers on this, so I'm just like, all I see is
It's over there.
power reduction, so I'm like, I don't know how
We're
much power is
trying,
power.
yeah, we want to make sure this was a reasonable buff. So it's going to be 4% reduction at all ranks, so from 10 to 14 to 6 to 10.
Right.
Achilles just does a lot of damage.
Yeah, the
right?
go-to combo is you pop this, you blink on top of someone, you auto them, auto them, or you use your 3 to get extra
Plus
ones with
Hydras.
So Hydra's being reduced. This also reducing the amount of damage you would do, which also further reduces Hydras. This should bring that whole combo and that whole kind of playstyle more into line. Bring his general power more into line when you're fighting him. You have reasonable expectations that he's going to do more warrior-like damage when he's built somewhat tanky.
After Achilles, then we'll move on to Artemis, who's also going to get a bit of a buff this patch.
Big one.
Suppress the insolent, increased physical power scaling. It's going to go from 40% to 60% according to that. So 20% buff there.
Yeah, you know, Artemis, I don't think really she's been in the meta very much at all lately.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure she did what she does best, which is deal damage. And that ability was surprisingly low scaling for any type of hunter ability. That's kind of crazy. So bringing it up to a more reasonable number.
Next up is Baron Samedi. He's also going to be getting a bit of love this patch. Vivid Gaze, we're going to increase the base damage of this ability. It's going to be going from 60 to 240. It's now going to be 80 to 240, so it's more of an early game buff.
It's a very
mid.
small early game buff.
Exactly.
I will now be able to play him mid properly and not have to worry about it.
That's
I'll
the
play my
important
opponents.
thing. So
has played
Baron
mid.
was
That's what I
really
want.
strong at launch. He's been nerfed a good bit. He still can be really good, but players tend to have trouble knowing where to play him. So we're just buffing his core lane clears, early game damage to make sure people understand that he is a viable mid. And I'm telling you from the stats, he should be pretty good after this change.
Oh, yeah.
Well, after Baron, we move on to Cucullin, and he's going to get some love. He's been out of the meta for a while. We don't see too much of Cucullin. He's going to see the Berserk change, increased physical power per level buff from, this is going to go by 2 to 3, and Spear of Mortal Pain, increased the rage gain per god hit. So the idea of this is just make him a little bit more transform and do a little bit more damage overall.
Yep.
A bit more
He's
fun.
really fallen out. He's kind of hard to buff because of the way his kit multiplies with itself. But really what we're trying to do here is a little bit of a revert. Like he was getting a lot of power, and that was nerfed. That was kind of when he really dropped off.
Right.
So we're bringing that back a little bit. We also want to give him more control over his rage. So a lot of people who struggle with Cucullin, they struggle to transform at the time where they want. So by increasing this amount that the ultimate gives you, that's going to pretty much guarantee transformations in certain situations, which will be really good.
Okay. Next up is Freya. She's going to be getting a bit of a nerf. I am not surprised. Brisingamen's Blessing decreased the magical lifesteal effect. That's going to be reduced quite a bit. You can see on the screen there, dropping down a little bit just to make it not
Early
sustainable.
game,
Yes.
Right.
specifically.
And it is actually a similar vein of a nerf we did after her old version before we did the rework, which if you want to go that whole history, you can. But this is the healthier version that's more focused on the early game specifically, that scales back up to the same strength late games as you can be the late game character.
So early game nerf, late game still fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Late game,
got a
pretty
new
terrifying
ring.
still. Most
New
of the time.
ring.
Still Freya.
Yeah.
And the new ring. Guan Yu, next on the list, going to get a bit of a buff too. General, increased the base attack speed per level and the mana per level of this character. So it's going to be like 0.9 to 1.2 of the attack speed, which I guess will help out his chain as well.
Per level, yeah. He's got a powerful attack chain, so speeding that up will be really important.
He has that cleave as well, which is really important.
Yeah, and the mana. He tends to use mana a lot because he's intended to stay in these battles for a long time, stack his passive, and then get these super abilities. When he runs out of mana, it doesn't feel very good. So,
And Hades is after that with a buff for him as well. The base stats going up, increased health at base level, and also health per level is going up. And then Pillar of Agony outside of the base stats. This ability now provides Hades 10% damage mitigation at all ranks, in addition to the protection he gains. We're just going to keep putting more procs on this.
one simple theme to this change.
How many more procs it needs?
Make Hades tankier. Hades behaves differently from other gods in the game, so he should have the stats to back that up. He's not quite a guardian, he's not quite a mage. Now
true.
he actually has base stats that are like right in between. He is now tankier than every other mage, but just under the base stats of an actual guardian as far as health goes. And then we gave him the big protection changes. We provided a lot of math about why that was good. People still didn't believe us.
I stand by that math. But why not both?
The thing is, though, we're okay with this, and this is why he's getting a small amount.
Yes.
We think Pillar of Agony is really strong when you use it at a good time and you bait out some of these movement abilities already, or you can use it to burn beads and Aegis and things like that. But we don't want Hades just dying during it every time. The protections was really huge. We're just adding a little bit of mitigation just to round it out for more scenarios that it's going to be a little more safe. Still be able to focus him down if you really
And
set
we
your
also
team
just
on it.
did pen changes too, which will also impact this.
Good point. Good point.
Drop the Kukulkan Tornado as an ulti right over him.
Good thing to note that Hades is criminally underrated by our community, and we're buffing him anyway, but that's because of our perception-based focus. It's been successful, and we're going to do it anyway. So Hades might be the best god. Hades might be the best god in the game after this. But will anyone actually believe me? We'll find out later.
Enough of Hades, because he might be the best god in the game, but this one is OP.
Definitely the best god in the game.
Heimdall is getting nerfed. And I think everybody was just waiting patiently for this moment.
Yes, they were.
Because I think everybody could agree it needed a little bit of a touch.
He was really interesting because he actually launched not that strong, and then day 2 stats came in.
Yeah.
He rose. Day 3 stats came in. He was even higher, and by now he's very high up there. So people just had to spend a little bit of time to figure out how he played. But now that they have definitely figured out how to break him, how to make him really strong, and how to utilize his kit effectively.
I would say statistically he had the largest change based on learning curve alone.
Yeah,
according to the whole the whole player base. Like gods like Arthur, they stayed low, but the Serket's learning curve is so difficult that her stats will be forever low.
True.
Like no one got actually good. Like only very few people get good enough to really
Stop playing
influence
her
it.
before you get good at her.
Right, but Heimdall, we literally saw everyone together as a community. All of us were like,
Yeah.
okay, we're kind of bad at Heimdall. Okay, we're getting good at it. Okay, now this god is broken.
Yeah, difficult but learnable.
Definitely, and that's how it felt.
So he's
here's the
getting 3 big
changes.
nerfs.
The Vigilant passive, decreased physical power scaling per stack. Also, Piercing Sight, the first ability, decreased physical power scaling of that. That's coming down by 10%. And Through the Realms, decreased initial hit physical power scaling of the ultimate. I believe that's what it is.
20% scaling off his ult, 10% off his one, and his passive, which affects all of his abilities
Yes.
and his basic attacks.
Yeah, so it affects all his abilities and base attacks. So he's basically getting scaling nerfs across the board.
Everywhere.
And then a
Good.
targeted scaling nerf at the main combo, which is the ult someone in the sky and then bring Piercing Sight down on them.
Okay, so big nerfs to Heimdall. See how they play out in the PTS. Next up is Isis. She's also going to get a bit of a nerf here as well. It's towards the wing gust. We're going to be dropping the damage down a little bit and also decreasing the amount of scaling of this ability too.
Right.
Major focus on that for the most part is just the amount of.
Ever since mid-season, Isis has been just insane, right?
Yeah.
But
I think also changes to the silence and the circle of protection, but we need to adjust elsewhere, I guess.
exactly. So what we wanted to do was nerf her, but we didn't want to take those abilities we buffed and make them useless again. Like the point of it was to make her kit feel like all of her abilities were useful. So we buffed all those, but we never took down Wing Gust, which was kind of insane and was carrying the weight for those other bad abilities for years. So now she's been really resilient to that. She's been nerfed like 4 or 5 times already since mid-season. She's been pretty resilient to them. So it was time to just pull out the nerfing of her core damage. It was time.
After Isis, we'll move on to Izanami. She's going to get a bit of a buff. We don't see as much Izanami as we expect. So we're going to see a basic attack change here. Increase the return projectile damage. It's going to go up from 25% to 35%, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And also spectral projection. We're going to reduce the cooldown of that. I think that's the second ability, if I remember the names right of my abilities. Which will just reduce the cooldown so it's a bit more spammable.
Correct. This is one of the most consistently lowest perceived gods by our community. Pretty much everyone thinks this god is
Her win
not
rate's decently
good.
high as well.
Her stats are better than her perception, but people think she's really weak.
Tricky
So
style because of the auto attacks and the way they function. I
Yeah,
think.
exactly.
yeah, but
It takes a little
really
bit of
what
getting
she
used to.
does the best is obtain lane pressure, and she's going to be able to do it even better now. So I think Izanami is going to be a real contender come season 7.
Especially with Jing Wei nerfs coming out. That's right, I said it. Jing Wei getting some nerfs. Agility, first of all, decrease the movement speed buff of this ability and decrease the air movement speed buff of this ability. Not only that, but the airstrike, we've decreased the landing range of this ability is what's happening.
That's actually the amount of area she can choose to land after ulting
After
is
she
coming
lands.
closer.
Gotcha.
So really this goddess is a perpetual pro meta pick because of her safety.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is maintain that passive. That's her cool thing. But she has safety all over her kit. So what you're seeing here is we're not decreasing her ability really to lane or deal damage or anything like that or hard carry when she gets online, but we are nerfing her in 3 different places towards her mobility, her escapability, which is really just causes some frustration when playing against her. So she'll always be, we think Jingwei will pretty much always be a viable pick because of that passive.
Definitely. I think also with a little bit of crit in there too. It doesn't help too much.
Oh yeah, with
Yeah,
some crit buffs we
absolutely.
got in the items, true. Yeah.
Nemesis on top of that is next on the list, and she's going to get a bit of a buff here. Swift Vengeance. We're going to increase the physical power scaling of this from 30 to 35%. That's it for Nemesis. Just a bit of a love there. Help out against some of the tankier targets if they're
I mean,
available.
key thing to say in Nemesis is that she has some abilities that are really hard to buff because they're unmissable,
Right.
like her ultimate and slice and dice. So this one actually has some interesting trade-off. It's kind of risky to use it for damage, so it's a good place to buff her.
Next on the list is Nike. Now, Nike did get a bit of a rework change earlier on last year. I was going to say this year, but I'm like, we're in 2020 now. I can't say this year. Nike got a bit of a
Speaking
change.
end of season 6, it's like
Yeah, and now we're moving on to some change towards Nike to make it a bit more viable, increasing the base health of the character a little bit, or the HP 5, I should say. But we're also going to increase the Ren damage and increase the refire damage from barrier formation, just to bring those up a little
Right.
bit and help out.
The big thing there is that when we did the rework and we brought plan of action to barrier formation, the big thing that Nike lost was actually on the third strike, using plan of action, she would gain extra HP 5, she would gain extra damage on each one of her Ren swings, and we didn't really give that back to her in any way, even though she is now able to use all 3 swings. So now it's kind of bringing that back a
Right.
little bit. She's going to get some base HP 5 to make up for the lost HP 5 in plan of action, and some base damage on Ren to make up for that lost bonus damage from
Well, really,
plan
this
of
was a long time coming because we adjusted Nike in order to nerf her passive because that was just attributing a ton of her win rate. And we did that rework so we could buffer. The problem was old Nike couldn't be buffed because her win rate was already through the roof. Now that she's actually behaving the rules of a normal god in Smite, and her win rate's not 60% even when everyone thinks she's terrible, we can actually buff her. So this is the first big buff she's gotten since the rework. And I would say if she doesn't respond well to these buffs, we'll be very open to continuing to buff her.
That's good.
Because now we know that her win rate is actually in control and not something absurdly high all the time.
That you just can't.
It's a really important thing, and I know the Nike players, this was a little bit of a difficult transition for some of them because they lost this like huge aura win bot that we had in Smite, but we're trying to make her feel more impactful, and maybe that wasn't achieved right at the rework because we were being a little too safe, but we are now open to buffing her, and we're gonna be buffing her now and possibly again in the future.
So keep an eye on Tessa around the PTS, see how she feels. After that, we'll move on to Rama. Rama's getting some nice quality of life stuff here. Not just quality of life, but technical buffs.
Oh yeah.
Base movement speed is going to be increased on Rama slightly, 365 to 370. And not only that, Astral Quiver. Rama now starts the match and respawns from death with a full quiver of arrows. That's a really big buff.
Especially in non-conquest
Nobody
modes,
realized it's so useful.
Just came from the item shop. You should have a full stock of arrows. You know?
Yeah, right?
Every time. And then Astral Barrage, decreased mana cost of the Astral Barrage as well, just to bring that down a little bit and make it a little bit more useful. So got a little bit of changes there from Rama?
Yes, the only thing I want to say in addition to Rama is we know that the community has shared a lot of concerns with his passive.
Look, got a passive.
He surely does have a passive. I disagree with the community, but I understand their feedback that they might not feel impactful enough. We feel that his passive is pretty interesting. It affects almost his whole kit. Every ability is affected by this passive.
Yeah, rollout as well.
Pretty much
So-
everything.
Not
Not the
rollout.
ulti.
We wanted to give him some key targeted changes to buff his basic attack, hunter feel and direction. See how this goes, but he is still being considered for a new passive. We'll see how that goes. We are open to that idea, but he does have a passive. It's just maybe not as exciting as it could be. So we'll keep that in mind, but we want to see how these changes go first.
That's it for Rama. Moving on to, there's 3 more gods on this list for you. Circuit, the next one. She's going to be taking a bit of a nerf here. Deathbane, we're going to be decreasing the amount of damage Deathbane does. Overall, from, I guess, 60 to 140, he's now going to be 50 to 130. And on top of that, Last Breath, decrease the damage decrease damage, but added a physical power scaling component.
No more take circuit.
Does it still do true damage?
It still deals true damage.
So it's got true damage and it can scale?
Sure, but if you aren't building actual damage circuit, you will be dealing less damage. You have to build.
But if you build an actual damage circuit, you're not dealing more damage.
You'd have to build somewhere around like 300 to 350 to start dealing a little bit more.
Okay.
We balanced it right to around that point. You have to build a full power
That's what my
assassin
concern
build.
would go straight away of like true damage and scaling.
So this ability is nerfed in every sense of the game except for pretty much late game full power, full assassin circuit.
Okay.
So two big circuit nerfs.
Yeah.
She can still go tanky, she can still be a nuisance, she's just not going to do the damage alongside it, I guess is the reasoning there.
Correct.
Next up, Sun Wukong, and a buff for Sun Wukong. Master's Will. This ability now applies an attack speed slow along with the movement speed slow. Ooh, that's pretty good. So, because once upon a time, they used to have a knock-up.
Yeah, we couldn't give him back the knockup.
No.
We thought that was just too much.
But an attack speed slow could help out there.
But he did need some love.
Not only that, they're also going to be increasing the damage on Somersault Cloud. So as you jump off the cloud, it should be a little bit more increased damage on there. And last but not least, on the god changes for now, Thor, Anvil of Dawn, increase the cooldown at levels, I believe, just to make sure it's a little bit. Yeah, it's going to go from 19
Gotta
scaling.
end the season or start the season off with a nice Thor nerf.
I mean, to be clear on that as well, like there's not a whole slew of god changes, but you're changing the map, you're changing items here. You're going to see how they play out, I guess, and make adjustments after that, right?
Yes, of course. And we most specifically targeted those gods that are still top of the meta, have been for a while. So Achilles, Isis, Thor, nerfs, and we got a lot of gods that are getting buffs that really need it and haven't really been seen so much lately. So Izanami, Cucullin, Artemis, even more. So a lot of just, looking at the very top end and bottom end.
Of course, the reworks.
Ooh, that was a big one, huh?
Okay, so that's most of the patch, boys and girls. Thank you for joining me. It's not done just yet. We've still got a few more things to do. And first of all, I'm going to head over to John Finch, or throw it over to John Finch, to break down some community stuff that's going on.
Are we so sure about that? Can we hear a little bit more from Handyman? Has he talked enough over these last couple of times?
I don't know, man. I think that was a full patch, so I'm about ready to go and get tested on PTS.
Yeah, I agree with you. Anything else we can do but listen to any more Handyman at this point, I think would be a godsend. Finch and Isaiah here. And we are going to be breaking down some stuff that's happening coming up here with the community. The first thing, I know this has been a big deal. It's been all over Twitter and all this stuff. The Olympian voting is finally about to kick off. It's actually going to be open right now, right?
Yeah, Olympians voting is live. If you head over to smitegame.com/Olympians, you can put in your vote for your delegates for 2020 across all platforms that SMITE are on: PC, Xbox One, PS4, Nintendo Switch. We've got a ton of awesome delegates up for voting for each platform. Be sure to go to the website, log in, get in your vote by next Wednesday, January 15th, and we'll get started.
And this really is a big deal. These guys do get to talk to the devs on a pretty regular basis. They're like your voice in the community.
Most definitely.
Directly into that room.
Yeah, we'll actually have a long blog post coming out later on this week or early next week to kind of go over everything that the Olympians impacted this season. And when I tell you that it's a lot, it is so much. They really do help us out in so much and touch almost every aspect of the game along with us.
That's right. You're going to have up until the 15th in order to do that voting. That doesn't mean that you should wait. Make sure that you're voting now.
Right,
or you might end up with someone that you don't want. But you have all the way until the 15th for that Olympian voting. Now, I know, Isaiah, that wouldn't be the only thing you'd bring for me here
That's
today
right,
with the community. Looks like there's also that Dev Chest Showdown. That was something that you all did a little while ago. We know the winner of that.
Yeah, so if you guys remember, we did the Dev Chest Showdown late in December. If you guys don't remember, we did a whole draft show where a bunch of Titan Forge devs got together to choose some of their favorite skins to go in a chest, and the chest that did the best, the winner, we get to choose a charity to donate to and also get a cosmetic bundle.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Do you have any idea which dev might have won that, or anything that you can maybe tell me about? Who that
Yeah, I
was?
think it was me. Yeah, I won.
That's who it was, exactly. No surprises.
So yeah, as you can see on your screen, we're super excited that we'll be donating to each and every charity that's listed on your screen. Like I said earlier, each dev got to choose a charity to donate to. Every single charity will get a contribution made to them. But I'm super excited for $25,000 going to Game Changer.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's being worked on right now, so that'll be available a little bit later on, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, keep your eye out for that Isaiah bundle. I'm thinking an announcer pack and something else. We'll see.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Hopefully we'll be able to get one of those. And the last thing it looked like you wanted me to note on here was that there's going to be some changes to the way that we're releasing content here in Season 7.
So all through Season 6, if you guys remember, we patched once per month, and then every single week there was new content for you guys. We're kind of switching things up to make things a little bit easier for our dev team. So the way it's going to work, we're still going to patch once per month, but instead of new content, skins, events, bundles, and stuff like that every week, it's going to be every 2 weeks for new skins and stuff to come out for you guys.
Okay, well, there's a lot of stuff to be looking forward to lately. The skin stuff has been top notch. We haven't even shown you all what we have in store.
There
for you
are
coming
some
up
crazy
later.
skins coming up.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff coming up. So even though it might be not quite as frequent, don't expect the quality to change at all. It's still going to be excellent, if not better. So there's a ton of stuff to look forward to. Isaiah, I think we just about covered everything. Anything else you wanted to hit on here for me, Matt?
No, that's it.
All right.
Make sure to get on PTS after the show.
That's exactly right. PTS is going to be going up. Make sure you check out those dev notes as well. We couldn't go through everything in detail because it's so much, so make sure you read through it. But all that's going to be coming up a little bit later. Don't worry, I'm going to get it back over to Hindu so we can start going through some of those skins.
Thanks so much, Finch. It looks like you and Isaiah had a barrel of laughs. Yeah, joining me on the set now to go over the final part of the show this week is the skin section. It's going to be Tina and Tyler, the double T's. How are you guys doing today?
Good. New year, new season, new us.
New skins as
That's
well.
right.
That's the
New
other thing.
skins.
Yep.
Let's start off then with Lord Bifrost Heimdall is going to be available. Early access first skin, sorry, easy access first skin, I should say, in the battle pass for you guys to get hold of here. And oh my, look at him.
Yeah, he's a looker for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely, very fantasy-esque.
It's going to
Still
sort of
throws his fiery hammer,
Ooh,
axe, not hammer, axe.
beautiful swaying robes, the whole kit.
completely different because he's not got a helmet on this one either, right?
That's
No,
true.
no
Heimdall,
helmet.
he's like,
We get
now
to-
he's more like King Arthur's court.
Well, yeah.
Feel to it.
Yeah.
We get to show off his beautiful cheekbones and those gorgeous locks, the long hair.
Yeah, you guys at home should be able to hear these abilities going off, but we in the studio currently can't.
No.
But that's not important as long as you guys can hear it. That's the main thing. And then obviously the abilities going off there, and then we can just see how it affects around it with the whips
Yeah, these are
Yeah.
cool effects. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
and the portals as
Teleport,
well.
yeah.
To jump through. Nice clear line. And of course the back end animation as
Love
well.
it.
Did we see any new
And his
anybody yet?
horn. If you didn't notice, his horn is in the back. Did you notice that?
No. I'll have to wait till he gets through the portal first.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
To the horn again.
It looks like it's in his armor, but you can actually see when he turns, there's actually huge horn on his back.
Yeah, it's the armor.
I like that he keeps some of the like the runic kind of theming that Heimdallr has, but it stays within this kind of color range and stuff. It's a really nice touch. Kind of ties them together with the original.
Back in comes again. Now we should have a chance to listen into the voice pack as well, just to see what he sounds like.
Let's show them just how outclassed they are. Keep on coming. I have plenty of axes left.
And that's it from the voice pack. We see a couple of lines there. Next up, we're going to be whipping through these today, guys. Charmcaster the Morrigan
many.
is going to be available.
Oh, I really love this
What is
one.
it about this skin? Oh,
Yeah.
she's like a cute
Yeah.
Witch.
She's like a, like a sorcerer. Like, I would say witch, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
wizard,
Sure.
witch, you
Wizard,
know.
witch.
Same thing.
Yeah,
For the most part.
we haven't had a skin for a while for her, so we're hoping y'all like this one.
Yeah,
It's
her
like
hat
Merlin's
is
sister now.
massive.
That's what it is.
Yes.
That's what it
Merlin's
is.
sister
Yeah.
without the beard.
3 Merlin sisters for a second.
That's great.
Very long
the
hair.
trio, yeah. Oh yeah, the big lock, the
Yeah,
big
it's
braid down the
huge.
back. That's
Yep.
so cool.
Yeah, a lot more light effects on these ones as well this time. Because normally with Morrigan, you get how many dark effects are released. These all seem to be quite low.
Yeah, this is definitely kind of like a more happy take on
she's very
Morgan
happy.
than we normally do, but it's a
She's
cool
like a
version.
clumsy witch, almost.
Clumsy death or
No.
clumsy witch? I want to see clumsy dressed as a witch. Maybe you can do this cosplay.
Actually, cosplay of this would be pretty
would be
awesome.
pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love the staff as well. Let's have a little listen to the voice pack here as well.
Finally, a fellowship I've always wanted to be a part of. Where are we headed? Okay, that sleeping charm is very, very strong.
And that's it for the Charmcaster. That's going to be available as well. Next up, Strix Beast Fenrir.
Oh,
And it's also-
Mr. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so excited
Oh,
about this
man.
one.
Oh,
Fenrir.
man.
Yeah,
That looks cool.
I-
I love the card art.
we've been doing some really cool like creatures this year, and this was one that our artist Quen put together, and it's amazing. The fur, like the detail, it's just really came together.
So supposedly this concept has come up for a few years. That people have been mentioned about doing something like this with the Fenrir, and now they're finally going to be bringing it into the game. And I did hear it's got an interesting ultimate animation or a unique ultimate animation.
What?
What?
Oh,
Wait, what?
yeah.
Let me show that again.
Can we see that from the front?
Yes, we can, because Pompon's a god.
Yeah, he is. I don't know what
Something.
happened.
Yeah,
Is he
It
like,
looks like he picked him up and carried him around in the
Like-
mouth. Is I
like
think
this?
What happened.
yeah. There was a lot of interesting stuff that went into the skin. Whoa.
what is happening?
Yeah. So
What?
the whole top half of
what the
Fenrir
hell?
for the skin is quite a bit larger.
Yeah.
So we had to make quite a few adjustments to animations and the rig for this guy just to get that like hulking owl feel, you know?
And you can definitely feel it's Hulk in the beast mode.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, he's like, he's like grabbing him, but he's like floating in the, like he's doing some magic shit.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like,
Best
like,
description.
Look. See, he's like magic hands, and he's floating in the air while he's doing some magic shit.
Yeah, that's how I would describe it. Best
Puppeteering
description.
him almost.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
I
That's what it
agree.
is.
And there's a little look at how it'll look running away with it. Hey, I've got a toy for you. There's a little
Yeah.
reveal there. Let's have a little listen to this voice pack and then move along.
Who dares trespass on my lands? Not even worth eating.
And then on top of that, we're going to move on swiftly to the next one, which is Primal Steel Ares. How many of these are there? Every week there's... Oh my god, there's pages!
This one is the recolor that goes into the Battle Pass.
Oh,
and
cool.
The free track.
So this is going to be the free track of the Battle Pass for you all to take a look at of this. Only the card art we can show you of that at the moment, but you'll be able to see these in game eventually. So that's Primal Steel Ares. Next on the list is going to be other Battle Pass stuff. We've got Fluff's Ward and Fluff's Recall. What's Fluff's?
It's Floof.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Floofs.
Yeah, we don't have that quite an engine to show yet, but it's this like really cute looking
It's
floofy
super
creature.
chunky.
Real
Okay.
chunky.
And it's got like cute wings and horns. And he has like, he's like, you know when cats like really want to love you and they make those big eyes like Puss in Boots? He has those eyes but he'll fuck you up.
Yeah, that's right.
So one skin and a recall wish. Do you just try and get on here and say as many vulgar words as possible? Is that your just goal to you know? I want to do that one day. I've never swore once.
Oh my
in
God,
my
I'm so
life.
proud of you.
In my life.
In your life.
In
Yeah.
your life.
Proud. Next up.
That needs to be on the Guinness
We're
World
going to move
Record.
on to Eternal Torment or Zeus. This is one that's part of the 2020 season battle pass for you all.
I never saw
This
this
is
one.
really
It's
cool.
kind of like
This
that
is so
Shin
cool.
10 one, right? Like the metal version of like, oh, it's really cool. Like sort of steampunk sort of feel to it.
Yo, I'm pumped to see
Wait,
this
which
in
character is
engine.
this?
This is Zeus.
Yep.
No.
Yeah,
Eternal
look at
Torment
this.
to Zeus.
Oh yeah.
It's so cool. He's got the.
I
these,
have
like,
seen this one. I just
was
haven't seen the
not
card
here to
art.
get all excited about it. What a shame. I
He's
love
got,
the
like-
chain lightning bounce.
What's with his tentacle back?
Yeah, he's got these like ethereal weapons that
What?
they're like forged weapons that he's
They
got
move.
attached, and
They
yeah, they
move?
rotate as he casts.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like they're empowered with rune damage or something, and it throws out the bolt through them, right? as
Oh
they
man,
twist
there's
around.
a ton of really gorgeous detail and runes and stuff all over this armor.
What is that like a forge of
I
heaven?
hadn't seen that yet. That
Huge
is so
portal
cool.
opens up by the looks of it and just drops fiery hell.
Fiery hell.
Let's have a listen to this voice pack before we move along to the next one.
Really cool.
Follow me to salvation. The road is filled with anguish, but it will be worth it. I can hear them screaming, even beyond the grave.
Okay.
Love it, evil.
Okay.
Tormented Zeus voice pack there. Next up on the list, Enchanted Boyfriend Cucullin. Enchanted Boyfriend?
Listen,
Yes.
this is the one that the panel
Yeah.
at HRX.
Oh,
This is
they-
a community
was.
skin. Yeah.
Yes, the community skin. They helped write it with me.
Is that a giant frog? That's amazing.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
he turns into a giant frog man.
That's so cool. So he goes from being cool looking, sweet dude to a frog, and then you kiss him and he goes back.
well, I
well-
don't know
No?
who kisses him. I mean, you can kiss him.
Yeah,
but
feel free to kiss him, Handyman.
What, in this
So
version? So he
slimy.
becomes a frog? Or
Would you kiss a frog?
if he
They're
became a
slimy.
handsome prince?
Yeah.
Because princes have got money.
I mean,
true.
if he turns into
The
Henry
Nigerian princes that
Cavill.
contact me all the time tell me they've got lots of money. So
This is indeed a pretty nice looking prince too. Very swole, you know, very
He's
handsome.
so swole. He even has.
Oh, there's the frog.
Oh yeah.
poisonous, that's for sure. It's like one of those poisonous
So
toad types.
poisonous.
I
Real
love that.
slimy.
That
He
looks
looks
really
so slimy.
Yeah, and
There
he's
he
got like
goes.
the heart-shaped spots and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh.
was a really cool community skin. Yeah, that was.
This
a
was
lot of fun
definitely
to
from
work
one of the selections of the Valentine's Day community skin program, is what I heard
Yes.
from this. Let's have a listen to the voice pack then, see what it sounds like.
Now let's find me a princess.
Very heroic.
If only finding love was this easy.
And that's it from that one.
I
We'll
love
move
that,
on to the
yeah.
next one. We're
There's
speeding
also
through
the
today, boys.
frog voice.
Necromancer Persephone is next on the list.
Yes.
I mean, she was already technically a necromancer anyway, right? Like spawning evil plants.
Oh,
Yes,
the
but now
emphasis
it's like
on the romance
ex-husbands
and necromance.
ex-lovers
Yeah.
and stuff.
I love the bouquet in her hand too. Maybe she's going somewhere where she's going to need that, but look at the card.
This
art.
is also a community.
That's right.
Oh, was
that's
it?
right. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And I asked fans on Twitter to help write this one as well. So
I'll give you a quick shout out as well for the Cucullin skin. It was concepts by Zelgot, and for this one, concept by Juniper Garcia.
Yes.
Is where this came
This
from.
is
I've got
such-
the names down here. I've got
Yep,
some
yep, yep.
now.
I love the tuxedoed skeletons that she sends out to her groomsmen.
those roses, oh, they're so evil roses.
And the groomsmen, yeah, I just saw the groomsmen on the first minute. They're really cool.
Yeah.
I love the effect of the when she jumps backwards as well.
Yes.
And pollinates everywhere. And the green vibrantness
I
of the
do
roses
like
everywhere.
that.
Yeah.
Lovely. And of course, the evil rose bush of death, as well now named.
Yeah.
Look
Oh,
at
it's
teeth.
Oh man, do you see that?
Yeah. That's like how some evil movies that. Someone's going to
Yeah.
steal that idea. Let's have a little listen to the voice pack that comes along with this one then.
Do you hear the bells ringing? Till death do us part. Whoever came up with this line clearly wasn't a necromancer.
Well, whoever came up with that line clearly didn't know that her passive keeps her alive a little bit longer. Moving on to the next one. Unbreakable and her next on the list. Is he unbreakable? This is a season 6 ranked. Oh my god, it looks badass.
Yes,
Season
so
6
badass.
ranked reward awarded to players who won players that won 75 ranked games in season 6. So you'll get this if you played 75 ranked games in season 6. Unbreakable and her.
Very cool. It's
He's
like,
really cool.
yeah, it's like this statue kind of take on him, and he's got this great like stone trim and everything worked into the model. It's really pretty.
Now, here's a bit of work still going into the voice pack on this one, just so you know, so we won't be able to show you the audio pack from this at the moment, but this is just a little look at the abilities and what are going to be involved in it here. Beautiful looking skin.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And on top of that, that's the and her one. We'll switch it over then to the next one on the list after we look through the Impaler stuff, but I do love the armor on that, and this is available for anyone that played Ranked.
Yeah.
We're now moving on, though, to Alexandrite Isis.
Oh man, I'm still getting over how cool this whole model rework.
Is? Yeah, rework
it's just gorgeous, and this is a really cool color scheme to throw on here.
Now, this is a Season 6 commendation reward, I believe, awarded to players that did not receive an account level ban or suspension during Season 6.
Y'all did good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you've not been banned before,
What a
if you
great
check,
reward.
what you need to do, right, is you need to make people on your friends list play this character, right? Play it in game to prove that they're not bad people.
Yeah.
But if they're bad people, they
That's
don't have the skin, disown them.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
Disown them all.
Kick them from your party. I mean, that's
Now,
it.
we don't get to show this in the game right now, unfortunately, but that's just the card out for this. So we'll have a little look at that. You'll be able to check that out in the PTS once that's live.
Nice.
Next up is going to be Merciless Monarch Oleron is next here.
Badass.
And, oh my God, that's his skull head looks
Yeah,
amazing.
he's really cool.
Oh yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of really cool stained glass work in this concept.
And his halo thing has eyes on it, which I didn't notice before, and someone like called it out. I was like, oh, that's really creepy, actually.
Yeah.
Let's
Oh
kind of think
man.
about some of the card art stuff.
Look at
I just
that.
wanted them all everywhere, like on my walls, on my desktop,
Yeah.
phone screen
Yeah.
space, but you can't have them all. Here's a little look at the
Absolutely.
skin now.
Oh, the effects there are gorgeous too. Really, really cool.
He's still got the same sort of back piece that we've seen out of Oleron before.
Yeah.
But he's definitely got more of an evil sort of feel of it.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, the feel that we'd get from Oleron's normal skins.
Yeah, and again, it has like a lot of that stained glass stuff worked into the tabards, kind of flowing from his back and on his shoulders. And oh man, that's awesome! Just turn the whole place into a hellscape. That's so
Really,
cool.
really clean. Let's have a little listen into the voice pack as well for this one then.
Welcome to the accursed battlefield. Today I am here to take the souls of the fallen and introduce them to the Lord of the Damned.
Whoa.
I'd be like,
Come here. I will heal you.
I am on fire!
Awesome voice, awesome skin there for the Oleron
Yeah.
A
one.
lot of great brooding voice packs.
Yes,
this
very
patch,
brooding.
for
Next
sure.
up, we've got three
Very
more to go
edgy.
for you. Drunk
I love this one.
Bacchus.
Oh my God, I love this one
Isn't
so
he
much.
drunk anyway? Wait, is he a robot
He's a
now?
robot.
Yeah.
They made him a bee before.
Drunk
now he's a-
yard.
And he's holding a urinal with a, I didn't know what this term was, urinal cakes.
Yeah, cakes.
Yeah, you don't
We-
eat
we-
them,
we
but
eat them in the
yes.
bathroom.
I
when
know,
we're
but
hungry.
cake is always something yummy, and why would
How do you know it's not yummy if you've not tried it?
Yeah.
you try it first and let me know.
I have.
Ew, no, you didn't, you
Urinal cake-
weirdo!
Not straight out of a urinal,
Get
but like, come
get out
on.
of here.
Come on, I will in a minute. Once we look at this skin, I love this.
Yeah. Quite a bit of work went into like putting this robot form onto Bacchus's
He's just
ring.
drinking oil instead.
Yes,
Yeah.
drinking oil.
I like his license plate like butt.
He has a license plate butt?
Yeah, he's got like mud flap
What
license
does it say on
plates. Well, that's for
People to
Oh.
find out.
to
in
find
game.
out.
That
Yeah.
might be an Easter egg in
Now, I
there.
believe it's got a VXG on this one as well. A
What?
special VXG, a brand new recoil animation.
Do it,
And a brand new recoil animation.
Oh yeah.
Chugging makes me wiser, lets me see things.
Well, there's a recoil
Like
animation.
dead
Unfortunately, we're not going to
robots.
have the VXG available for you right now, as Pompon didn't buy it, scumbag Pompon. But check that out
Rip.
in game when you get on the PTS and see what you think of that. But here's a little listen to the voice lines real quick.
Chugging makes me wiser, lets me see things. Like dead robots. Why did the robot go shopping? It had hardware and software, but no underwear. It was naked.
Oh my god.
All right, I do like this voice pack. It's something I can definitely get along with. It might maybe play Bacchus a little
He
bit
is,
more.
though. He is
I'm
so
crying.
wasted, dude.
Oh my god.
2 more to go.
That's
How
really
can a
good.
robot be wasted? 2 more to go. Spell
guzzling.
Slinger Sol is the next one on the list for you all. Spell Slinger Slow.
Oh, she's so cool too. I love her.
It reminds me a little bit of the Morrigan, like purpley sort of woman that we've seen before
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a sort of rogue-esque character.
She's like so sexy. She's like this like sexy spell slinger. Go show.
And of course, she's human in this, and she's not.
She's
you know,
human.
Yeah, we don't have a lot
many
of.
skins of those. It's
What
the
is
second one, I
happening
believe.
right now? Oh.
That's not a cool animation for recall.
She's so bad.
If you see her from the front, she looks really like she has abs. It's so nice.
Cut.
I love the idea. Call it Spell Slinger. Definitely makes sense because she really is swinging.
Yeah, and
gorgeous.
her eyes glow yellow. It's really cool.
I'm such a sucker for purple effects. Like, these are so
Because
pretty.
purple is your favorite color.
Yeah,
I
you're right.
love Disapparate there as well. The way it affects of the Disapparate, where it's just starting to kick in. Have a little listen into the
that's so
voice pack.
cool.
Obviously, guys, all these are available on the PTS after this show.
I can show you wonders beyond your wildest dreams, or horrors from your darkest nightmares. Magic can't be controlled, just set loose.
And that's it for the Soul one. We've got one more skin for you, and it's a chibi one.
It's a chibi one.
And these guys are excited for it. It's Freezy Chibi Yimmy.
Yes.
There he is.
Oh.
He's so
with
been
soul next to him.
Cooking this
It's like
up
a little
for a little
dumpling,
while.
is what he is.
Yeah, nice fire and ice. Yeah.
I actually really like the card art for how simple that is. It's great.
There was a lot of work that went into his design, and I'm so happy with how he turned out. He's so cute. Yeah.
Tyler modeled him, right?
I did.
God, he's
modeled
beefy.
him. Shout out Anna over in Alacrity. She did some awesome concept work for this guy. Oh, and this is my first time seeing him with all the effects.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
That's super cute.
Yeah,
I like the face.
Very
Oh,
smug.
there's different faces.
Oh, there's different
Different
faces.
face.
Yeah.
What?
So,
That's really cool.
And they're all mad. That's great.
yeah, a lot of smug faces.
Yeah.
A lot of so definitely annoy your opponents with.
Yumi's got some of the best skins in the game. It's so hard to choose sometimes which one you want to go with.
I just really like Ymir. He's such a cool character.
It's just a little slower than freezing most of the time. Let's have a little listen to the final voice pack of the Season 7 patch.
Ymir is always here and will never leave.
What?
Puny God has no chance.
You did what? What? Why?
Ymir is always here and will never leave. Puny God has no chance.
Why you make it seem a little bit simple, man? Like he's like, I will kill them all. Ymir is here.
Top tier.
I kind of do. It's a different take. I mean, to be fair, we just did the Bacchus one as well, which is along the same lines.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
I
for
really
sure.
wanted. I was like, they sent it to me like that, and
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I should keep his original voice with his chibiness, or if I should like alter it. But then when they sent me that, I was like,
That's
that
the one.
actually sounds really. I can't even do it.
Yeah.
It's great.
That came together.
Thank you guys for joining me for the skin section. I know the skin section was
course.
pretty brief this week. Where's my camera? There's my camera. It's been a long show. But that's all we've got time for this week on Season 7. The PTS. Now, I'm saying this, right, and I hope I'm right because I've been told I am. If I'm wrong, it's Isaiah and AJ's fault. The PTS should be live straight after this show. Get on and play the new Joust map, play the Conquest changes, play with all the new skins, have a little go, give us feedback as always. We're really excited about Season 7, and we want you guys to be too. So please give us all the feedback you can. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you want to read the full patch note show and you've not done so far, you can find that all on the Hi-Rez website. For everyone here, though, it's been a lovely day. We're all off to go and chill and play the PTS and see what you all think about it. See you in a bit.